All right. All alone, just the three of us.
Yeah.
All right. Call this meeting to order.
Skype never popped up. I'm so sorry.
No, it's not your fault. I was just thought, uh-oh, is Ivan asleep? Uh-oh, is Ivan driving somewhere?
Uh-oh, is Ivan having sex with Julie?
Well, that never occurred to me.
Oh. I'm not sure if that's a good or a bad thing for you, Ivan. I'm not sure which that is.
Mental imagery. I don't...
Yeah, well, I'm too old to get groovy that way anymore, so, yeah, that doesn't come up much.
What? Wait, what?
As is getting groovy with Julie doesn't happen much. So, yeah. Yeah. So
as long as it happens in a general frequency that you don't mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know. But when you get to my point in the world, when you get to my point in life, yeah, sometimes, the soul is willing, but the body is not, so.
Okay.
All right, boys, so.
All right, we're ready? Okay, let's get going.
Hold on a second.
Whoa, wait. All right, let's start. Stop!
I'm waiting on Jeff.
Car. Game on.
I'm just putting in the date for when we're getting together with Mike, because I wanted to make sure that
Okay, yeah. I mean.
That I had that figured out.
Did I send you the formal invite?
For the 11th?
Yeah.
No, I don't think you did.
Well, now I am.
Yeah, you do that.
Right, it sounded like we kind of...
BBQ, BW.
I was going to say, it sounded like we were kind of doing it. I just wasn't sure. I hadn't...
Yeah. Yes. I've sounded the horn of Gondor, so you'll get to meet a bunch of my friends. And hang out in my basement. Don't touch any of my toys.
Oh man.
BBQ BW.
You know what the best part? You know what the funniest part about that statement is? Don't touch any of my toys. And you know what the worst part is? Now that's all I want to do.
Now that's all you want to do. Now it's just
that's all I want to do.
Touch. I didn't want to until you told me I couldn't.
Yeah, exactly. The most expensive one. What's your...
And now Jeff's going to want to touch all the toys. And
They fall over like dominoes.
It's not even that. Not even that. Optimus Prime fell in the tidal wave.
No.
In the tidal pool. Oh no, he's being flushed down.
I'm going to start... I'm going to start cooking about 1 o'clock, and I figure around 2:30 you can start the movie.
Might just ignore that whole idea.
Just you're going to flush Optimus Prime.
We got to stop Megatron.
Jeff's having adventures with my action figures.
That's when Starscream. Starscream kicks him into the tidal pool too, because Starscream always wants to be in charge anyway.
That's right.
Say hello to your new leader. That's when your cat's going to come and knock Starscream over and that's her new leader.
No, she could care less about my toys, actually, which is good.
Okay.
She leaves them alone. I was worried that
that's impressive for a cat.
Yeah, that is.
Wait a minute, that's incredibly impressive for a cat. You got all that stuff on
display, and she leaves it alone. She
wow.
Don't care.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Either.
Yeah, she's very well mannered.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
She's a good one.
No.
Yeah, both of them. Both Marley and Otis. They love listening to the records and they love hanging around the player when I'm playing them, but they don't get in on it, to try to.
I'm waiting for either Marley or Otis to be on the record as it's spinning around.
Well, I have film, and I guess I should put it to the page of Marley turning around on the turntable.
That's hilarious. That's adorable.
That's YouTube gold right there, my friend.
Yeah.
That's like social media.
That's
like social media. Yeah, that's
You'll go viral
right there. Yeah. That's viral shit right there.
Yeah, that's cat videos. Yeah, those are
Yeah, unless you get the fluffs that are going to make a big deal. Oh, that's abusive behavior. You should be doing that to the poor cat.
Are you kidding? I'm waiting for the audio files to go. How dare he defile that turntable?
Yeah. How do you do that?
Those filthy paw prints that have been in a litter box
Yes.
5 minutes prior and now sitting on a TCS 250 whatever so-and-so.
That poor 78 record, what was
That's
he
right.
thinking?
That's right.
It cracks me up, though, because I once upon a time I used to be one of those people that I would just be like all fluffed out about whatever happened to the records or the players.
Yeah, I know that when Laura broke some of your records.
Yeah, and
you're almost ready to kill her.
Well, yeah. This could buy this much, but then it's just like now it's like okay, life's too short, so it's just like
it was Ivan in the main room.
Yeah. With the record needles.
With the record needles. Yeah. Seriously.
Yeah. I inject you.
Right. So now we're ready?
Or the noxious gas. Oh, I thought we were already recording.
Well, we're ready. Yes, we are. Welcome, everyone, to episode 153.
153.
I figured that's just how we start our episodes now, is we just sit here and talk about
I like the formal introductions. It's sometimes formal, formality.
Some formality of it, yeah.
Some sense of normalcy and formality. Occasionally helps.
Like we get together and watch.
I like what happened in Humboldt Park this weekend. Okay, but okay.
Yeah, so I caught up. Yeah.
Again, but okay, we'll talk about that on the show.
Yeah. You can't.
We're on the show.
Yeah, you can't get out of there faster.
But then let's just finish the formality. Welcome everybody to the squares of the round table once again with your trusted buddies, Jeff and Mike, and of course me, Jive and Ivan. Of course, welcome. How we doing, boys?
Yeah. First Monday back from vacation is about what I expected. It was hell. But I survived.
Did you come back to utter chaos and mayhem?
Yes, I did.
Did somebody walk in who was a customer go, "Excuse me, sir, do you guys have underwear?"
Oh, we've had Well, we get weird
at Ace.
Yeah, at Ace Hardware. Well, not anymore. Maybe we used to. Maybe when we had the dollar section, but not anymore. No, don't have any underwear. But I did have someone asking for jump ropes.
$1? Wait, $1 underwear? That can't be good underwear.
No, it's not. Trust me.
That's gotta be like the worst underwear ever.
What happened to those 3D Doritos you used to sell at the checkout? I used to love those 3D Doritos at the checkout. You don't have.
You got regular Doritos, ma'am. Sorry.
Why do you mean regular Doritos?
Sorry, ma'am. You're gonna have to. You're blocking the line. You're gonna have to move along, or I'm gonna have to call the cops.
The line. I wanted the 3D Doritos. So
well, technically, everything's in 3 dimensions in this physical universe.
I was going to say, technically.
Yeah, but doing good. I'm doing good. I'll go last because I'm going to take the longest.
What's the craziest thing you've ever been asked for?
Well, today it was jump rope.
Like, just in general. Like,
oh, God.
What's the weirdest one?
I don't know.
Like, has anybody ever walked in and asked you if you guys sell vibrators or some shit like that? Or
I knew that
was for a hardware store, people ask us to fix lots of stuff, and they bring in everything.
Ivan. Yeah, all I know is some people are looking for a good driller, and hey, what do you know?
Good. Hey, you the screw guy? Yeah.
Man, I need a bit, man. I need a really good deep fitting bit.
Yeah. Okay. What diameter?
Looking for like a 3/16, man. I need it like heavy grade because I want to drill into this brick. And
you need a masonry bit. Okay.
What the hell's a masonry bit?
It's a bit that goes into brick, sir.
Okay, my friend, he had this stuff in this little black box. He went and it was black and he kept using it against the wall and it wouldn't cut or nothing, man. I mean, wouldn't cut the brick.
Hey, man, why do you keep calling it Mason? Wait, it's a brick thing.
Why Mason, man? Is that like the name of it, man?
Freemason? The Freemasons?
We have to free the Mason. Is he in prison, dude?
Freemason. No, I can't. Nothing comes to mind right away as to what the craziest thing. People bring in all kinds of appliances and stuff, and they like.
What about like someone ever walked in and be like, "Hey, man, I ate some pizza."
We got pizzas.
Do you really?
We have frozen pizzas from a local place called Half Times. Their meat lovers pizzas is pretty good.
Okay, so it's not like we got pizzas that been sitting in there since 1972.
No, it's not like that.
Hey, Mike, listen, Mike, listen, Mike, wait, I'm looking for, wait a minute, I saw this last night at 3 a.m., and I thought it was you gotta have it. Do you have the Vegematic?
No.
Amazon has it.
It says, it's seen on TV, and I saw it on TV, and it said, and,
You saw it on TV when you should have got it on TV then.
Well, no, but it said on the bottom, like, Ace Hardware and everything like that. I saw it on MeTV.
Oh, my God, that's
I could look and see if I could order it.
Order it?
How big is the catalog?
I liked what it did with the potato.
There ain't no catalog no more. Everything's digital.
No,
it's all ones and zeros up in the sky, sir. It's all the internet.
It's on the internet?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the internet. What the hell's the internet?
Exactly. People who don't know how to use the internet. I get all that.
The internet, dude. So I tell you about
what was that?
So I created a shop in one of the modules. I called it Jeb's Hardware Store. I based it off of like the old school Asus and True Value, where they had like the big gigantic monstrous catalog, and that has everything in it. And they wanted something. So he starts flipping through it, and he's like, Star Destroyer. Wait, what?
It's in the book.
It's in the book. Wait, you can buy a Star Destroyer? Yeah. And they're like, how much is it? And I tell them the price. I'm like, oh, we got that. I'm like, wait, something's messed up. What else does it say? Some assembly required.
Man,
I sit there, I flip it, I'll go, I tell them about I put the Death Star in there too on purpose, just to watch them all freak out and be like, Death Star, what?
It was a good time back in the day, like late October, early November, getting close to Thanksgiving, and you get the Sears catalog, and you have to dog-ear the pages of what you wanted for Christmas.
Oh yeah,
that's what you used it for.
Oh, the Sears catalog. There's other parts of the Sears catalog that had maybe not dollar underwear, but it was.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, you saw the strangely fitted family members who were like in their long johns and things like that.
And then the ladies' lingerie.
Yeah, the ladies'
section.
Lingerie section. The teddy bears, the baby dolls, and the pastel colors, and I used to sell.
And the half-naked women.
Yeah, with brassieres and all manner of types.
Yeah.
You know what else was good for that?
What's that?
What else was good for that? And I don't care what anybody says. People sit there and go, "Oh, it was all about the cool fitness stuff." Nuh-uh. Remember, Mike? I don't know if I remember this because he might not have cable. Mike, you remember like in the early morning on ESPN, they used to have all of those fitness shows.
Aerobics, and yoga.
With all like the aerobics and all that stuff, and the bodybuild, and like the shows like that. Let me tell you something. That was not just about that. I'm telling you that right now.
Nope, that was helped your morning wood.
That was sex on wheels. Okay, I mean let's face it. That was not about exercising. That was about titillation and excitation early in the morning before you went to work.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you walking funny, George? I was doing some exercises.
I mean, Tiana Tom was just gorgeous. I mean, wow. I mean, there were some amazing looking women on those things, and it was like, okay, this is like I can't afford porn, so I'm gonna watch this.
I'm gonna watch the little. Well, you'll watch the little nipple indentations through the light.
Well, it was definitely better than like trying to go to like the Playboy channel and go, look, I think I saw.
And find
nipple.
scrambled, yeah.
Yeah.
I know, scrambled the screen on like on TV.
You know, kids today will never understand.
They will never know the struggle. They will never know the struggle.
They will never understand. Now all you gotta do is go to the internet. Boom, it's right there.
Yeah.
Right there.
How? You know, when you got Pornhub on the lips of pop culture like any other thing now, I mean, it baffles me.
Although, I've got to be honest, with everything going on with Pornhub, I don't know how much longer Pornhub is going to be around. Because I guess they're getting sued. There's a bunch of stuff on there that was child porn and non-consensual.
Non-consensual stuff, they were getting in trouble for, yeah.
Yeah.
If you start going into the amateur part of the situation, and there was just all kinds of... What?
You know, I gotta tell you, it's interesting. It is funny. I'm curious if they're suing for new reasons or reasons from previous. Because ever since then, they went to pretty much unless it's somebody who's considered a verified performer, it's not on Pornhub anymore. I mean, like they pulled off
they took off like a bunch of accounts. Yeah, from what I'm told. I don't want that. Yeah. Not that I know.
No, they really did. They really did.
I know. Yeah, I did.
They really did. I know. I mean,
we know that you know, Jeff.
Hey, look, I'm a single guy. Look, single guy pandemic. What did you want me exactly to do?
He's got the hairiest palms I know, but you know.
Well, hey, look, you know.
I'm a man.
I mean, I have, and yeah.
A woman is a woman, a man ain't nothing but a male.
I mean, it's either that or I gotta pay to do a thing with the... I've never done, like, the video thing. I've never understood it.
Video chats?
Yeah, the video chat thing just seems...
No, I've never done that. No.
You know, have you ever seen the parts where, they before they get to the video, they say, hook up with Lonely Housewives, and then at the bottom, go to video.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I always kind of laugh because, first of all, I don't think people realize how expensive that shit is either.
Yeah.
That stuff is not, because I've seen the prices listed on it because they'll show stuff like that, and I'm just like, damn. That's...
Yeah, for a couple bucks less, I can just go to Craigslist and get a thrill, but, it's like...
No, I don't think you can.
That was always... looked really shady.
No, that stuff's gone, Ivan.
All that stuff's been culled from Craigslist.
All that I think it was under the Trump presidency. Yeah, under the Trump presidency, because of all the stuff about where supposedly they were underage and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
A lot of those sites went poof, disappeared. Backpage is just dead. Once upon a time, that was pretty much how Backpage made a living. You didn't go. I've been talking about Craigslist. Shoot, Backpage. Backpage is where you went.
I never heard of Backpage.
Yeah, with a Craigslist person coming to my building back in the day. When I was working at Deerfield Village Center. That was okay. First off, it's like 3 a.m, and I get a call that, from one of the tenants that, there's a lady down in the foyer, okay? So I go ahead and look on the camera, and here's this lady who has obviously had way too much to drink. She's in pajama pants, a halter top.
Oh, God.
Nothing matching. And she's just, like, banging away at the door, banging, just, and cursing her ass off. So I get up out of bed, I get downstairs, and I'm just like, and there she is, and she's, oh my God. The girl looked like, she was like two rocks away from a fit, and I'm just like, okay. And I'm like, excuse me, hello? And like, I'm looking for, 309, the penthouse in 309.
Penthouse.
Oh, God.
And I'm thinking, we don't have any penthouses here, dear. Who are you looking for? I'm looking for the man who is in 309, Penthouse 309.
Penthouse. He probably said that to make himself sound good.
So I'm thinking, well, 309, first off, does not belong to any dude. There was a lady that was living in that apartment.
Wow. That sounds cool.
But yeah, that was the same lady that burned down the building, a few months later. But anyway, that's yeah. So anyway, so I says, well, no, there is no man that lives in 309. Do you know this man's name? But it's in 309, and he said here.
Oh, God.
So you don't know his name.
And so, let me in. You can't stop. I said, yeah, I can. I'm the custodian. No. So here it is. I says, just wait here a moment. I'll go contact him, which is total bullshit. I went to the office, and I talked to Officer Casatori, who, promptly came over to the building, and I said, can you come over here, my friend, and just don't turn your lights on, just kind of come up because I got a live one here, and he goes, okay, I'll be right there. So, here comes the cop car rounding the corner and everything, and she's just like looking in terror. Okay, you never seen a girl turn tail and run out the door as fast as she did.
Yep.
And so then he gets out of the car. I run out in pursuit and everything, and there's her. And
wait a minute, why are you running?
Yeah, why are you running?
Well, because I want to find out where this crazy woman is going to be, because I'm responsible for the property. Okay, so I don't need no maniac, crazy, Craigslist woman going around.
All the reason why to leave it to the police.
This is the part where all I can imagine is like the cheesy like T.J. Hooker movie music from the 80s, and like Ivan, and this guy chasing after the girl who's probably too drunk, is probably still in better shape than both of them combined.
So anyway, so she's going to the car, and I'll bet not too directly because obviously she's inebriated, and her car was parked on the curb. Okay, which only tells you that nothing good was going to come of this. So next thing you know, he gets over there and he's like asking, why did you run? What's going on? And I'm looking for the penthouse in 309. Some guy called me and said, there's a penthouse here. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I hope this person didn't get a prank call or something. Poor kid, So anyway, and then find out later that she was 16. Okay? Mm. And it was just like, so Testatori reports back to me later, and he's just like, hey, Ivan, that Craigslist girl, she's like a 16-year-old, she's got priors, and I'm like, wow. Oh my God. And I'm like, and then, later on that week, some guy who was not in 309, but 411, okay, comes around. And I'm like, talking to Steve about, this crazy broad that, ended up coming to the apartment and everything. And the guy goes, excuse me, you mean, was there a girl here a few days ago? I had a girl that I was waiting for here. I said, you're talking about the 16-year-old girl that was banging on the door looking for some guy at a penthouse 309? The man turned 3 shades of white and he goes, yeah, okay, I'm leaving now. I'm like,
see, the problem is, here's the thing, is that there's no way for a guy to know that when you're doing that stuff, when you're doing it online.
Anonymously like this, you never know.
Yeah, exactly. There's just no way, and that's the worst part of the whole thing is right away it's the guy's.
Yeah,
the guy's fault. And
the guy's
it's
fault.
like,
he's a horn dog. Right.
Yeah. Well, this goes back to the whole. Well, look, this goes back to the fact that I very much believe that prostitution should be legal because of a multitude of reasons, and the biggest ones being having to do with safety on a lot of levels. But because
and let me tell you something, Jeff. Okay, being in the service industry myself and knowing, sex workers. No, true. No, true.
Ivan's in the service industry.
Well, I am. I'm a DJ. I'm in the service industry. So
Okay,
So
I get the joke.
That's one particular service.
Yes, this is a different one.
Service in quotation marks.
Okay, but see, the point of the matter is, though, okay, I know a great number of women who, when you're DJing, you meet all kinds of people. And you get women, you read them on Facebook. They got their profiles. They're in the service industry. They're sex workers. They make no secret of it. And the fact that it is, they do provide that kind of a service. And then there's a number of states that have been fostering this service for decades. And okay, yes, I mean, if a woman, if that's what she wants to do, knowingly wants to do it and such, and if she has the wherewithal to do this type of thing, and who are any of us to go ahead and, but of course it leads to a lot of judgment, it leads to a lot of talk, and
Hey, look, there's the other side of this too. There really is, which is when I say safety, I'm not just talking about for the women. I mean, I've heard stories in reverse of this. Okay, reverse of this, where a guy shows up and there's 5 guys there who beat the ever-loving snot out of the guy and take the guy's money and wallet and all kinds of shit.
It happens in all sexes. I mean, it happens in all sexes. I mean, and it's a dangerous business. Let's call it what it is. And this maybe or don't know this going in. You should know this going in.
I mean, honestly, I'll admit there was places where, depending on who and where it was and what, I wasn't going. And I'll tell you right now, I can tell you that I have partaked, because I'm a single guy and we all got needs, and sometimes this stuff kind of happens.
And that's fine.
But that said, I always laugh, because there are certain motels that even now I drive by and I go, okay, wonder how many girls are at that one, or that one, because that's usually where they're at.
Right.
But they cahoot to that whole situation, they network, they have their place, they have their, I mean, we got a place in Chicago, it's 3 floors. Okay. If I was, and let me tell you, it's 3 floors of every possible sexual thing you can imagine you want to get done. You got the money and you want to spend the money. I mean, you can get everything from 1 to 2. You could get any number of things done, any number of things taken care of with as many women as you want to have.
It doesn't necessarily have to be women either.
No, it could be men.
Trans men,
everything. I mean, I know someone who actually spent. I'll keep his identity, but I know someone personally.
What's his name and address and phone number?
No.
I'm kidding.
No. But he told me that he had gone to this. They called it the industry. I think it was called. Don't take me on that. I'm not sure if that's the name, but.
That's a whatchamacallit though. That's a strip club.
Well, I'm not sure if it's that particular strip club or if that's the actual 3-story building that this guy told me about. And he said that he spent several $1,000s. And you know what? And he got cuffed. He got his ass beat. He ended up getting massages from 3 women at a time. I mean, he was, he was wine dined in '69. I mean, it was, and as I sat there and I listened to the story, I went and I researched it later for the validity of it. And the place does exist. And I'm just like, damn, I didn't know we had, I knew we had.
Oh, no, you'd be surprised.
I know we had a sex industry in the city, but I didn't know how big a sex industry.
Oh, no, you have no idea. Like let me tell you something. Let me put this in perspective. When I went, I didn't even have to leave Skokie.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even have to leave Skokie.
I know.
I mean, that's how. I mean, that's how prevalent it is.
Oh yeah,
And the places in the places where you'd be like I said, suburbs where you'd be like, I would never imagine that this was possible here. And it's like, oh yeah, it's possible. Not only is it possible, like
it's there.
I'll tell you right now. It was so funny. This is true. A bunch of us were talking about getting together and renting a hotel room for New Year's and getting together. And one of the people said, well, extended stay is really cheap. I said, we can't go there. And they're like, why? It's a nice place. And I'm like, we can't go there. And everybody's like, why can't we go there? I'm like, we just can't go there. and everybody's looking at me. And there was one person who knows me who looks at me and goes, is the reason why we can't go there what I think you're thinking? I don't have to think it. I know it. We're not going there. And she's like, and she looks at me and she goes, we're not going. She looks at the rest of them, we're not going there. And they're all like, why wait? Oh, wait. Yeah, all right, we're not going there. I'm like, right. I mean, don't get me wrong. Extended stay isn't always that way. I mean, it is funny because there are people who really legitimately use it. But yeah, because it makes the most sense because it's like, okay, these women get a weekly rate. It's inexpensive. They've got practically it's like an apartment there. And yeah, I mean, I think
and that's how they cut away their overhead.
You want to hear the best one? The best one was this.
What's that?
There was somebody who I used to see, and I happened to be at a hotel someplace. Okay, and I was out for a gaming weekend, and I was like, I'll give this person. I see this person is nearby, but I can't imagine they're really that nearby. And I'm like sitting there, and I'm like, I can't imagine they're that nearby. But for a whim, I'll give them a ring to see where exactly they're at because I really don't feel like leaving the hotel. But I'm curious just to see. They're 3 floors up. And we're not talking about a cheap place. We're talking about a Hyatt.
Yeah, I know.
3 floors up. They're 3 floors up from me, and I'm like, it was so funny. It was so funny. I'm like, you wouldn't happen to be and I didn't name the area. She's like, actually, I am. She's like, why? How'd you know? I'm like, what do you mean? How did I know? She's like, well, I'm like, actually, no, I'm here. And she's like, really? And I said, and the next thing I know. Now, anyway, you get the picture.
And of course you've heard me tell my stories in the past, my fair share of adventures being a DJ and how we did the white parties and we did the basement parties, the swaps, where you go, and of course one of my favorite stories was with Johnny Guy, okay? And he told me, yeah, there's this party, they call it a white party, would you like to, come and do the gig with me? I said, yeah, sure. We get down into this basement, we set up, we're playing all these tunes, and everybody, of course, dressed in white, right? Mm-hmm. And so, and we're noticing that everybody is swapping with everybody else. And I'm like, okay. And then here comes, of course, the guy comes by and he goes, well, you guys look like you're having a good time. You guys need a little lift. Well, let me show you where the rooms are. Well, yeah, the one room, had all these drugs. So another room had all of this booze. There was one room that had a bed and everything like that. And it was just like, this motion, this ebbing and flowing motion of people going in and out of these rooms, and it just got more crazy as the night went on, and it's just like, wow, they had all this great food. I mean, we're talking you had all these expensive, finger sandwiches and shrimp and caviar and all this other stuff, and it's like, and these weren't just like riff-raff people. I mean, these are people with money. Big money. And it's just like, and of course, you got the wives or the girlfriends coming over saying, hey, would you like a turn at this? I go, turn at what? And, she'd sit there and she'll eyeball the bedroom and I'm just like, well, that's nice, but I'm on duty. Thank you, and stuff like that. They're doing the same thing to Johnny and, and John's just looking at me and I'm looking at John. And then Johnny asked me, he goes, what's going on here? I go, John, don't you see that this is a swingers fucking party?
Yep.
You don't see this?
Yep.
He goes, really?
Yep.
You don't see this, John? Look, okay.
That they got plastic on the floor.
You know?
Yeah, I don't know.
No,
parties like that, they don't got plastic on the floor.
No, they don't got plastic on the floor. No, not like that. But
No.
you know, I told.
I've been to places like that, but no.
Yikes.
Yeah, they do. And then I told Johnny, I says, you see that guy that was with that girl there, and now you notice he's with that girl there. You notice that guy that was with that girl there. Now he's with that guy there. And he's like, oh my God. I'm like, shh.
Hey, let me ask you a question.
Abort!
Did you ever go
really.
out to what's the thing? The one where it's out in Northwest Indiana where they have it, where it's the nudist colony and they have that big event that they open up for?
I never knew they had a nudist colony in northern Indiana.
Oh yeah.
They had a nudist colony just over the border in Wisconsin from Illinois, not far from McHenry.
I was thinking about the one over. There's one in Northwest Indiana where they used to do like the Miss Nude Universe and the nudes are popping and all that stuff.
Yes, that's right. That's correct.
I think it's Ponderosa. I want to call it Ponderosa, but I don't.
No. The only other Ponderosa I know is the Ponderosa Stomp, and that's in New Orleans. But
Ponderosa Steakhouse. If there are any of those left around here,
but yeah,
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
But I know what you're talking about, Jeff. And
Right,
yeah.
I can't remember where what. I was just curious if you'd ever gone. I never went. Me and a couple buddies of mine, we always talked about we were going to do it, and and they always chickened out on me because I was like, we should go, and they're like, no. Part of it was
well, you guys remember Jonathan Reese, who used to work over at VBX?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I went with him to the one just over the border in Wisconsin. I
never knew about that one.
Oh yeah, and what it was that it was on the heels of him catching up with a Kiss show because trying to figure Kill It and Grill It.
You guys went up to like Alpine Valley or some shit like that, right?
Yeah, it was around there. And what it was that Ted Nugent was opening at the time. That was when he was still with the Kill It and Grill It and all that bullshit.
He still is.
Yeah, but now he's just an asshole. But anyway, all I know is
he was always kind of an asshole.
Okay. But all I'm saying is, he opened and we saw the Kiss, and then of course after that, it says, hey, let's go check out this nude park. Okay, and of course, I already told you this story at least a dozen times over the years. But
yeah.
But the thing about it is that I think that we're like about 3 or 4 decades behind everybody in this whole nudist colony thing because the rest of the world has been doing this shit.
Oh, Europe, yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're nudist for years.
Forget beaches. Forget nudist beaches. They're like regular public beaches where they're allowed to like basically be topless. In like Europe and stuff, and like nobody cares, and it's like
nobody cares.
Did I ever tell you? So I'm on a cruise when I was like, I can't remember if it was 15 or 16. I'm on a cruise. And we're all excited because there's a nude beach, and we were stopping. I can't remember where we were stopping. It was somewhere in the Dominican Republic, and there was a nude beach, and we were all excited because it's going to be a nude beach. Okay, and we somehow convinced our parents to take us to the nude beach. Okay, okay. I have a feeling mostly because the fathers wanted to go. Oh my God! What Because we all got a picture in our mind what the nudist beach is going to look like, which is, what you see in the goddamn movies, which is like every hot chick, it's amazing, all that kind of stuff. Okay, let me tell you what it really was. A bunch of old people, crusty-looking old people, not wearing any clothes, just nasty as hell.
Yep.
There was like. Of all the things we saw, there was like maybe one woman where it was like, okay, she might be interesting, but I was like, not really.
Brain bleach.
Seriously.
Men with their nutsack past their
all I know is we walked out of there, we were like utterly, we were
expectation
like,
versus reality.
This is bullshit. What just happened? What the hell? It was just like...
That was a lot like where me and old boy when we were up in that nudist colony, man, it was just, yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
they act like it's normal.
Something's up in there, you know.
Yeah, old guys in their 60s. Old guys in their 60s with blue hair. It's like, okay, and blue hair everywhere. Like,
yeah, you got blue.
I didn't need to see that.
And you
out of here. And not because they dyed it either. You know, hello.
Blue hair everywhere. I think that's the title this week.
I think. Now, I will say the one thing that's interesting about all this is it's funny because, like I said earlier. I mean, to me, I think it really should be. I really do think it should be legal, but it's funny because in Vegas.
But could you imagine Chicago's guidelines for such a thing, though?
Do you remember do you understand what Chicago's guidelines were for strip clubs? Okay. They were, Chicago's guidelines for strip clubs. I mean, there's a reason why there's like very few strip clubs in Cook County. In the actual city limits of Chicago. And if they are, they're in unincorporated places for a reason. You know, like Heavenly Bodies is an unincorporated, like, I think Elk Grove Township for a reason.
Yes. Well, out of sight, out of mind.
No, it's not just the location. It's about the city regs.
Right. They get away with a lot more because they don't have to follow a lot of city regs. I think the craziest one
because the blue laws are so hard within the city limits, and it's always been this way. I don't know if any laxing of the blue laws has.
Well, the trick is the further away you get from downtown, the less lax in some ways it gets. I mean, it doesn't get real lax, but you know, if you really want real lax, and you're in the Chicago area, the real answer to the question is either one, find an escort, or two, head over to Industrial Strip, which is on the other side of the border in Indiana. Which, you know, you'll have a good time. And you
all know what's crawling over there, so it's kind of like.
Well, and it's funny because, look, like I said, I mean, it's interesting because, you know, I haven't been down to Indy in a bit, but when I lived down there in the 90s in college, okay, and I was always surprised at just how much, I mean, for it being a Bible Belt city kind of place, that place has so many strip clubs per capita, it's insane. And the stuff you could get away with down there was insane too. And I take it a step further, like you'd think like, okay, Indianapolis, how hot could the women be? And they were, wow. I mean, wow. And the biggest reason that I can come up with is Indy was a convention town. Mm-hmm. Indy's a big convention town, so people would come in through town, and plus with like things like the 500 and stuff, those women were gorgeous. I mean, all I know is, like I said, I always laugh about that because Indiana's laws, depending on what part of the state you're in, like it was funny. I went to Fort Wayne, it was not like that. Northwest Indiana, more like that. Indianapolis definitely was like, you know.
Well, and you also got that. You got the sensibility of and you know the politicians, if they're all shaking hands with one another, if such a thing proves beneficial and people are taking kickbacks and getting a piece of the action and everything, of course they're not going to shut that down because, you know, the money is going, you know, the money's in, we made it 10, we're here to give you more. That's just the sensibility of it.
Well, the one that always seemed to have problems, and it's not there anymore, is there was a club that was not far. You know, this was back when the Ontario Street area was hot. Okay? Right. And you had like Excalibur, and you had like the 50s McDonald's, and you had a couple bars over that way, and all that. And it was a hot area, and not far from there on Orleans, there was a strip club called Top Shelf.
This was in the Loop or north of the Loop.
This was okay, because if that was east that was east of
it was east of the loop.
Right.
Yeah, it was a little bit east.
East of the loop east of the loop is the lake.
I'm sorry. Okay, it's
but I'm saying within the boundaries, being east of the loop, it was close to that area, and
it wasn't far from like Hard Rock and those places over there.
Okay, right in there.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, it wasn't right there. It was a little ways off from that, but it was right off 94, like right off the Kennedy when you got off on Ohio Street.
Right.
When you got on Ohio Street and you made a left, onto Orleans. You run right into Top Shelf, and for some strange reason, that location and that spot was like, they were like public enemy number one. Like, the city was trying to constantly get them out of there. I guess it was too high profile of a spot. And one of the things they said was supposedly there was a school nearby there, which I don't even know where the hell there is a school nearby. But that place.
Yeah, you also had
the thing was, that place was high class. They'd bring in some of the top people, and that place was packed. But like I said,
brought money into the city's economy.
Well, but they were all up in arms about that strip club being way too high in a way too high profile spot, and it never lasted to be down that way.
That was because they were looking. It was an eyesore to the up and coming property values that were in the city that were starting to happen at the time. Not only that, you also have to consider all the stuff that was happening on Rush Street, because Rush Street, let's face it, Rush Street in the 60s and the 70s were filled with X-rated bookstores.
Yeah, same thing as Times Square in New York.
Yeah, peep shows.
Yeah. Times Square was not family friendly in the 70s.
I remember going. I remember going in the 90s to Times Square, and we stayed down there in the theater district
before Giuliani cleaned it up and made it touristy.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So what happened was that you had Daley was basically shaking hands. It was a city that worked, but it worked for everybody. And the thing about it was that Rush Street, for the longest time, after it stopped becoming the entertainment center of the world. I mean, because like I said, we had the London House, we had Mr. Kelly's. It was a highly influential jazz area. But then once all of that started deteriorating and breaking down, and then the seedy underbelly started coming out. And next thing you know, you had right next to the Chicago Theater, you had the Loop Theater. What did they show at the Loop Theater? They showed X-rated movies right there on State Street. And then you go over to Rush Street, and between
there were a couple places over that way, but I think those are long gone now. I bet.
Oh, those are long gone.
Yeah, long gone.
Yeah, you would never in 60s and 70s and early 80s Chicago, you would never walk down the Rush Street unless
that's why like the Admiral gets to exist, because really in reality it's not. It's funny. It's on the north side. But it's on fucking Lawrence Avenue. It's right, but it's far enough away. Nobody, and it's been there long enough. Nobody. Yeah.
It's like what happened. It's like what happened with the Oak Theater over there on Division and Western. Which of course used to be a reputable movie theater, and then they started bringing in the burlesque shows, then they started bringing in the X-rated movies, and then it started becoming it became a place where you could get people shot in a heroin, they're taking them out in stretchers, in the last row, and it was awful until they finally shut that one down. And that's long gone now. I mean, there's an abandoned bank there, which of course now it's the Walgreens, which is over there on Milwaukee Avenue. But so that being
said, that was the closest to downtown that they've ever had a big time strip club of something like that. And although there was those ones, they were down, man. There was this one that kept changing names. Originally, it was Crazy Horse 2, and we went down there because it was Crazy Horse 2, and I was like, oh, Crazy Horse. I've been to Crazy Horse in Vegas. It was phenomenal. I put two and two together to just think it's just going to be an expensive place and not worth it because of Chicago laws. But, yeah, there's one place that's down in, like, an industrial district that's always been down there, and it looks high class, and it's nice, but at the end of the day, it costs you a fortune, and you get nowhere.
Isn't there still one by the airport?
Yeah, Heavenly Bodies.
Yeah, Heavenly Bodies, yeah. Right.
Heavenly Bodies.
Mm-hmm. That place. Now, in fairness, I haven't been in there in a few years, but that place is like. Sorry, how do I put this? It's not exactly the decor is. There's nothing about the decor that's interesting. It's pretty much tables and stools, and there's a couple of stages, and then they've got a quote unquote VIP section in a section, and then they've got an upstairs section for dances, and
oh my god, it reminds me of old Joe's in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Oh yeah. Well, look,
I did not partake in that activity back then.
It's a little. I mean, it's a little bit nicer than I'm making it out to be, but you know that to me was always it's. I mean, it's not bad for what it was. I mean, bang for buck, but you know, it was, how would I say it, not as pricey as having to say to go, and I don't think it's even there anymore, as saying go to Polecats, where it's like, okay, get ready to spend like an entire paycheck. I mean, I've never admitted this before, but there was one night I walked out of Polecats, and I'm pretty sure I spent four figures.
Wow.
I spent four figures, and it's one of those things where it's like, I'm not sure if I should be embarrassed or proud. I'm not sure which. I'm still not sure to this day.
Look, you went on an adventure.
Oh, it was an adventure, all right.
Well, yeah, but that's the point. Okay, you know, you get what you pay for.
That's down by Midway, isn't it?
It's not that far down.
As long as you didn't hurt anybody, I mean, come on.
No, no. Are you kidding? With the size bouncers that they got?
Huh?
With the size bouncers that they got? Hell no.
That's what I'm saying, but I'm just telling you.
No, if anything, it was funny. You know, when we were talking, remember we were talking about the movie Hustlers, and we were talking about that stuff, about how did these clubs not do anything about any of that? I remember being at Polecats, and I remember there being times where there's a guy who is ridiculously inebriated. And like some girl being like, hey, come on, let's go to the VIP room. And like, the bouncer's right there. Or like the concierge guy's right there, like trying to get him to sign something for a credit card, with the idea being that this guy's so bombed, they're gonna like.
Yeah, they're going to take him to the cleaners.
They're going to run up some sort of insane tab.
Liability then. It becomes a liability then.
Well, and the trick is, who's really, unless you've got nothing to hide and you don't want to worry about anything, who's really going to complain? You'd have to be someone like me who's a single guy who doesn't have anything to worry about it and can sit there and go, hey, yeah, you know what? I got screwed over by Clubhouse. Most guys can't say that out loud. They probably weren't supposed to be there in the first place.
Well, yeah,
they might be married or whatever, yeah.
Right, or they're embarrassed that they spent that kind of money and they were there and that was that and all that kind of stuff. But
they're busy getting their business done on corporate accounts, and they're just writing.
Yeah, there's that too.
Zero to the left. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And it's funny. The funny part is, I would get. It's funny because I was always reticent of that, and it was funny because I remember that one of the things that was interesting was that particular night I did, if I remember correctly, I was pretty buzzed, but I did not get that drunk. But I will say that I spent quite a bit of money with quite a few women who were more than happy to keep doing shots with me, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I mean, I don't know. The point, I don't know how I know.
Well, okay, so getting back to the beginning of it, should prostitution be legal? Okay, and that's the question we should pose. You know what? We should check out our page since we're posing that and see how many people actually...
let's leave that alone. Let's not put it on our page. I think that's that's a lightning rod we don't want to touch. But
okay, but
if you have an opinion, give us a comment.
Drop it. Just a comment.
Drop an email. You know how to reach us.
Down and because.
But I will tell you. Let me end on this. Let me end on this story, and because you guys will enjoy this. So we're in Vegas. Okay.
How long ago was this?
This is back when I'm 21. This is the 90s. Okay. This is the 90s. I'm in Vegas with some friends. Okay. I'm in Vegas with some friends, and I got these two. And it's the first time we're there. We're 21. Okay. And I got two friends who keep on insisting that they're gonna find girls and they're gonna score. And when I say that, not necessarily mean as in pay for it. They're gonna find girls and they're gonna score. Because whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Girls up, yeah.
And I'm like, and me and another friend of mine, they were so obsessive on this, it was ridiculous. And me and another friend of mine were just kind of like rolling our eyes the whole time, going, "Hey, if you guys are gonna like exactly, that's exactly what it's like. It's like they had this like, it was like a dog, like I gotta hump your leg kind of thing." Anyway,
they were on a quest.
Yeah, they were on a quest.
Right.
They were on a quest. So we went out to this dance club that was, God, I can't remember I can't remember what club it was, but we go out there and we walk in, and I swear to you, it looked like the scene from one of those beer commercials where everybody on the scale of 1 to 10 is like a 20 or a 25. And it looks like something like they're even playing Casey and the Sunshine Band, Everybody Get Down Tonight. I mean, and like me and my one friend who have been realistic the whole time are like literally sitting there going, we're not getting anywhere with any of these women. This is not going to go well.
Yeah.
And we're both looking at each other going, we'll just have a good time. The two of them are like, target rich environment, let's go. and I'm just like, and it's funny.
Women.
Right. So me and my buddy are hanging out. We're just talking. We're shooting the shit. And I'm like, it was funny because we are talking and we're like, God, how can, it's like, well, is there a way we could get, about getting girls? I'm like, well, I do have one thought. He goes, oh yeah, what is it? I go, we should all pool our money together, put one of those bouncers sit in one of those VIP areas. Okay. And then we'll buy we'll buy some bottle service. We'll all pitch in, we'll buy bottle. And I'm sure there'll be some women that'll come back around and then we'll have some women and everything will be great.
Right.
And my buddy's like, that's a phenomenal plan. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we hear, it's not going to work.
Okay.
And we're like, and we look around, and apparently there's one of the guys who's a bouncer who's been standing behind us listening to this plan. He goes, and we're like, huh? It's like, your plan. It's a good plan. It's not going to work. And I'm like, because at this point I'm intrigued. I'm like, oh, really? Why is it not going to work? He's like, you're assuming that the girls that are going to come to you aren't the help. And I'm like, oh. He's like, yeah, about 80 to 90% of, wait, this is the best part. He says to me, 80 to 90% of the women who are in here are escorts.
Right.
And I look at him, and I'm like, and I look at him, and I'm like, I look at him, and my buddy and I both look at each other and go, oh. And we're like, thank you. He's like, you're welcome. He's like, he's like, you guys look like you really don't have enough to scrounge up to pull this off. He's like, I just want to be honest with you. At which point, me and my buddy both look at each other, we're like, did he just say 80 to 90% of these women are all hired
workers,
women?
yeah.
All workers? And then we're thinking about our two buddies who are out there thinking target-rich environment. And we cannot stop laughing. And I look at him and I go, you want to just go? It's like, you want to just blow this place and go back to like Caesars and go hang out and like find a couple places to play blackjack? He's like, yeah, because they're not getting anywhere. I'm like, okay, let's go.
But
But
great story.
No, that's why I figured I'd tell it. It was right in the right vein of like this whole thing where I was like, it's yeah.
I need $50 to make you holler. I get paid to do the wild thing.
$50, man.
Yeah, pretty much.
With those,
we're talking like $500.
that way, depending on who and what.
Add a zero or two. Yeah.
I will. Okay.
Go to Chicago on the south side, and they turn you into an Oreo cookie for $75.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's again. So I'll be honest. I never, in terms of the higher. The truth is, if you're going to Vegas, what you really want to do is you want to go out to the brothels. The problem is the brothels. I mean, they'll bring a car.
No.
Right. The good news is they'll bring you back and forth, but it's not close.
Cheap. It's not close. It's not cheap.
It's not even that. Well, there's that too, but it's not close. We're talking an hour.
Yeah.
One way. Okay. And then to top it off, like you just
Vegas,
said.
Yeah.
Right. And then to top it off, like you just said, the menu of stuff and the cost, unless you're really ready to plunk it down, you could be done in. You can travel out there for an hour, be done in 15 minutes, and then travel back out there for another hour. And it's just not. And the irony is, like I said, in Vegas,
it's not feasible. It's not conducive.
Right.
And it's just like, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to drive an hour with a Woody in my pants. I'm going to go there, plunk down $1,000, be there for a half an hour tops, maybe, and then have to drive.
There's other things that you need to be aware of too, because if you're all excited by that point and you're out there,
you might be. You're
gonna be done. You're gonna be done very fast. Because once you do what you do, you're done. Doesn't matter if you paid for an hour or not. You're done.
Once a man finishes in quotation marks, you're done.
Yeah.
Okay, time to get out.
Yeah, you pop your top, gotta go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's funny because like I remember when we went to Vegas the first time, and it's like, man, I had a stack of those handbills like crazy. Everybody's like, "Why'd you take all those?" I'm like, "I don't know. I want to see what they were." But it was funny because I've been to Vegas a few times. For the most part, it was dealing with that stuff in Vegas County is BS. I had one good experience. I wasn't even expecting it, and I can kind of tell the story and not say the rest of it, which is I get in on a red eye.
Okay.
And I get in on a red eye, and I meet up with a friend of mine to grab a bite in Caesars. And we're talking in general, and this person says to me, "Well, you think you're going to get out to like the brothels or something?" And I said exactly what I just said to you guys. I said, "Nah, like it's too far. It's not worth it, and I don't have that kind of cash outlay." I'm like, honestly, what I'll probably just do later in the week is I'll just go to one of the strip clubs or something, or check out a strip club or two later in the week. But right now, I said honestly, the way things are going, I don't expect anything to really happen, and nothing's really going to happen. Nothing's going to occur. So we say goodbye. We're in opposite parts of the hotel. I'm walking back to my room, and literally, I'm watching, and there's this woman walking down the hallway, and I'm looking at her, and I'm kind of like, could be, no, because it's Caesars. They got some pretty good security around here. Then I see her kind of like walk up to a dude, and they're talking. And I'm just like reading the body language. And I'm like, she could be. And I'm like, no, not possible. Sure enough, she walks up to me. She's like, "Hey, you want to have a good time?" I'm like, okay. But I was really surprised because Caesars is usually not like that. I'll tell you right now, Caesars is not usually like that. Caesars, every time I've been to like ones on the strip, they're really, really like strict and they like watch all that stuff. I don't know what it was. It must have been the fact that it was in August. Like, they were all over the place in Caesars that weekend. I mean, like, literally, they were, like, everywhere.
Might have been a convention weekend that weekend.
Well, I was there for a convention.
There's usually always any conventions going on over there.
Right, but usually,
sometimes they're heavier than others. So I'm sure you might have been in one of the more heavier times of the year where they get a
No, I wasn't. I was there in August.
So
I mean,
okay, go with your story, Joe.
I'm sorry,
no, that's fine. I'm not going to go any further than that. Let's just say I had a really good time.
So does she like? How does it work? I mean, does she give you a card or a menu or what? How does the list of services? How does that work?
Well, they usually, most of them usually, they'll come to you, they'll ask you just the way that Jeff said it and everything. Then you go to the place where they might be, where she's working out of and such, and then she'll tell you right from the top of her head, well, this is this much, this is that much, this is this much, this is that much, and, and then of course it's always pay up front, and then after that all is said and done. Some do.
In this case, that was not where this went, which was first of all, we're in the middle of a hallway of a big time hotel, and so there's a part of me where I'm a little bit nervous because technically, for all I know, she could be an undercover. Who knows what the hell?
Yeah, she could be an undercover cop.
It was really clear she wasn't, and the other part was, I hate to say it, was the next thing is she somebody who looks interesting enough that I want to go have a good time with? The answer to that question was yes. Was yes. Yes, she was. And then she did. There were things where she made it where I was like, we're going to have a good time, I can tell. And in fairness, in this particular case, it was pretty much, it's a flat rate. Here's what it is. And this is how much it is for I think it was for the hour.
Uh-huh.
And I was just like, and I'm listening to the price, and I'm like, based on who it was, and the vibe I was getting, I'm like,
okay,
this seems like a great time. I'm all good. And so she follows me back up to the hotel room, and that was the weekend I got really, really lucky, and they placed me in a much better room than I was supposed to get. So,
nice.
I don't want to get too steamy. Let's just say that was a good time.
Okay.
I don't want to get into.
No, we don't need to get into all that. No, we don't need to get into all the details.
Let's just say this. I had a phenomenal view of the Bellagio fountain.
There you go. That works.
And that's not code for any. I know, but the Bellagio fountain and the Paris Hotel Eiffel Tower, and you get kind of the idea of where. Right. Like I said, and it was the only thing I will say is, so I wake up this happens. I go downstairs the next morning. I run into this person. This person's like, and I'm like, I'm like, it's really early in the morning, and she's like, how you doing? She's like, I'm surprised you're up. I'm like, yeah, everything's fine. And and this person's kind of looking at me, and this person looks at me and goes, you got laid last night.
Did you have that nice glazy look about you?
Yeah, and the best part is, as I'm sitting there right now, as I said that right now, I actually did the eye roll like could be kind of thing with my face, which is exactly what the look was. And this person's like, really? And I'm like, and they were like, you said, I said, yeah, I know. I wasn't expecting it either. And the worst part was this person's like, damn, really? I'm like,
yeah.
It's funny. I almost hooked back up with that person later on in the weekend, but I didn't. You know what? The problem was, and there were other reasons for it. I had other stuff going on that weekend, and there were other reasons and things I needed to do. But I never really got. My plan was I was going to get back to doing that again later in the weekend. The trick was I was going to need to go play a bunch of blackjack and get the money. Well, I never got around to getting much on the blackjack tables, so I didn't really have it, and I was just like, and honestly, I was kind of tired, and I wasn't feeling it, and I'm like, I'm not going to spend this kind of money if I'm not, I mean, it'd been a long week, and I was exhausted for other reasons, it was kind of a work weekend for me, so I was like, No, that's not. I bet she was phenomenal, and it was a lot of fun. But
Yeah.
it was.
And like it says, and that's and that's everybody, just like you said, everybody's got their needs, and it's not a naming and shaming type of situation. I mean, we're only human, and we have urges, we have needs and such, and if you got two consenting, and that's the key word, consenting adults who are on board with this type of sensibility.
Well, that becomes the problem. That becomes the problem. The problem is that you're assuming it's two consenting adults.
But that's what it's through. You don't leave that to chance.
Right. Well, when I say that, it's like, no offense. I mean, I'm not sitting there gonna be like, okay, I want to see an ID or unless it's obvious that there's one around. I'm not asking, hey, where's your pimp? That kind of thing. I mean,
no.
And by the way, in fairness, I will tell you now, my best guess is that those underage girls probably had IDs that said they weren't underage.
Exactly, and you know what? You're never really going to truly know, and that's the trick, because that's just how it is. Okay, yeah. I mean, it's sad. But that's just how it is. And
I mean, in fairness,
it's buyer beware. It's buyer beware.
In fairness, I think I'll say this. I don't think on any of the occasions where I did that, I ever was with anybody who was underage. And I feel I can say that based on what the women looked like. And I feel like I could have been I was a pretty good gauge because I was in my I had a pretty good idea of what that would look like. And it just, unless there was somebody who was really looking pretty mature, there's no way. Now non-consent because of a pimp or something like that I can't say. That I can't say. I wish I could.
Well, usually, when those moments would occur, is usually on the reference of somebody else that might have been with that person and might have given me that little bit of extra insight to this whole situation. And it's just like, hey, Ivy, that's what's happening there. I was with her. This is what's happening. I was with her. But no, don't go with her because she's got issues. She's a hype. Don't mess with that. Because then, it's going to reach into your wallet and steal your wallet while you're busy being on top. I mean, it just becomes a sensibility of, knowing what, who you were with and having a good idea as to what you're working with. And of course, again, it's all about the consensuality because, you got people that they'll do that. And then after all is said and done, they'll still turn you in and they'll still yell rape and all kinds of shit. And that's the big choice. That's a big choice you have to make when you're going to do this sort of activity.
Yeah, there's the risk-reward assessment when you size a woman up or person you want to engage with.
Right.
By the way, Mike, to not skip over something you asked, I never ran into anybody with in terms of, like, I was talking about, like, there was there's slightly like a price menu kind of thing depending. But the one thing is that there's a lot of language and a lot of abbreviations about different stuff.
Oh, yeah.
They would list on their listings that, how can I say, for example, that when you're having a conversation, you could ask certain questions. And usually, by the way, if you knew that lingo,
if you knew the language,
they kind of knew that you were legit. So,
right. So you go ahead and you talk to them and say, "Listen, I'd like it around the world for 30 minutes," and then right away they know exactly what you want for the 30 minutes. Or okay, I want top man.
Yeah, I don't have the lexicon with me.
Right. The
list of terminology, the nomenclature.
Right. No.
But that's because I've done it, so it's like, I mean.
Right, and that's why we're saying, like, there are things, like, for example, like, you made the comment about once you do it, you're done. Well, that would be a question where, depending on what the price was, my question might be, do I get multiple shots on goal?
Right, exactly.
Which is usually code for what you're at, what you're asking. Yeah, that way.
Yeah, like if you get to the goal quick, do I get a 2-for-1? I mean, do I?
That's why they called it multiple shots on goal.
Right.
Was
that's the nomenclature. That's the term.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, look. There were a couple times where somebody would send me a texting list, and I would be like, I don't even know what that is, and I'd have to Google it, because I didn't know what it was, and I'm like, especially in the beginning, I'm like, I don't know.
What's with the midget over here?
Right. And again, having talked to other people who've engaged this, that's how I learned the language. And of course, most of who I was involved with in those times, came from other people who talked to me about it and walked me through it and everything like that, because if I was to try to do this myself, I probably would have had the old classic, rip and run, which basically, hey honey, give me the money. I'm going to go out here for a second. I'm going to go powder my nose. She goes out a window. I've lost my money and I'm done, see, gotta, and I'll even tell you of an occasion where I actually had my wallet stolen.
That didn't happen, and I did have an occasion where I didn't get service. Actually, I had two occasions where I got ripped off. One was real bad, one wasn't.
I laughed at the girl because she took the wallet. Okay, it was a pain in the ass to get my IDs and shit back together, but there was no money in there because I put the money in my pocket, because that was something that I was told, in advance. If you're gonna go out, always put your money in your pocket, never leave it in your wallet.
Right.
And, so it's just like
depending on where you were going. I mean, shoot, I didn't even take my wallet in.
You even said put your money into somebody.
Well, because I was working nights. I was working at MGI on Jefferson Street. Okay, and then of course you go down to Copeland, and you're like going up and down the street, and they're like, that was before it all became the ritzy North River area and all that other shit, long before it became, bougie. And, you go on the corners there, you'd have 2, 3, 4 of them out there, calling out to you during the dark. And of course, see, those I never would touch with a 10-foot pole. Well,
or
a
15 or a 20-foot pole or a 30-foot pole or.
Well, I had this.
Or your pole or my pole.
Right.
Yeah. But what it was that, okay, I went on an adventure with this one friend of mine who was working with me, and it was like we had the hour lunch, okay? So it was like, he's just like, hey, I know some chicas over here, man, over here down on, and it says, you need a ride? And you go, oh, yeah, I'll pay for you, and, and so lo and behold, we get down there and so, he took his turn in the car and everything, and then I got in the car and everything, and next thing you know, she it was about to happen, and she goes, just a second, I gotta go check on something, and then, and she ended up going out of the car and checked on something, and then I found out that she checked my wallet out. Mm-hmm. And then it was just like, oh shit, and then of course my friend was all upset that it had happened. I had to forget about it. I did jokes on her. I got my several $100s in my pocket. She ran off my wallet, and I had all my IDs in a few weeks, so fuck it. It was no big deal. But yeah, after that it was like, no, I don't think I want to do that again, dude.
No, absolutely.
Not to mention, this guy is like 4'11", and he had brought in this one chick. She must have been about 6 foot tall. It was bizarre.
At least you didn't have to watch.
No.
What do you need? Like a step ladder for that or something like that?
All I remember was her legs were outside the window. That's all I can recollect.
Oh, wait. You're doing this in the car? Oh,
yeah.
Man. Oh.
You got to drive afterwards. And
Oh, no. See, this is why.
Hope you got wet naps in the glove box.
No way.
Nope.
No.
Well,
See, that's why I never did that stuff.
See,
why would I want to do that in the car? I'm going to pay that kind of money to do that in the car? Fuck that.
Well,
no way.
You know what? When you're going for the $20 thrill, and that's what it was, $20 thrill, and an old boy, I guess he just didn't have much luck with the ladies, so I guess he used to go out. And if it wasn't with me, it was this other guy, Carlos Paz, he used to go out with, or he'd go out with my brother, Carlos, or just one of the guys from the shop, and he would just go and do this. This is like a every other week thing, and it was my turn, and well, I didn't fare out with it, but he scored every time, and it must have been with the same woman every time, because we get back together with lunch, and then we all end up talking about the same story. He looked at him and says, the big girl, Blondie, yeah, Fueya, was her, and they all were busy laughing like, oh shit, But yeah, but as far as anything, to that effect, yeah, this is where legal prostitution, the legal trade, and the laws and the bylaws for the sex industry and everything like that. This would badly play a big part, because not only that, in many states, they get checked, they get the insurance, they make sure that they're clean, they go for checkups. And they do everything to make sure that they're above board, that they don't got AIDS, or they don't got, STDs and all this other type of stuff. Or
to take a step further, like you just said, which is, okay, that person skipped out.
Right. At least you got a guarantee of actually getting your money back,
Yeah.
For that sensibility. So, so there's a lot of, there will be pros and cons to everything.
It'll never happen though, because
I don't think that's going to ever happen here in Chicago, because I don't think Chicago has the mentality for that. But I know that in the states that they do that, they seem to have done it well.
Well, there's only one that I can think of. I mean, one state that I'm aware of where...
Well, wasn't it Phoenix that they have legal prostitution?
Nevada's got it. I don't...
Nevada. No, you're right. Nevada's
the only place, but they are very, very, again, it's
very regulated.
You have to go places to go there.
Well,
it's not like...
Yeah, it's also very regulated, too. That's what I heard.
Right. Well, and that's why, and I hate to say it, that's why when you sit there, when you hear stories about how pricey it is. Well, it's pricey because it's regulated, and
it's regulated,
and these frills cost money, and all this kind of stuff, and
right, and they're insured, and they're literally licensed and bonded.
Yeah,
and insured.
There are, just like how the legalization of marijuana. I think it's the similar situation. I mean, the legit path is regulated, and it's higher priced, and it's clean, it's safe. But there are alternate paths you can take to get the same result, and there's a risk.
Well, and being the pot smoker of all of us here, and the fact that
you, Ivan, what?
Come on.
What?
Anyway, no, but the thing about it is that and I was recreational on and off for years, okay, and when it comes down to that, you get what you pay for. Sometimes when you're doing, back in the day before the legalization of it and everything, you were in the hands of the dealer and what the dealer got and what the dealer charged and everything like that. They tell you, oh, here's an ounce, and you're like, this is awfully light for an ounce. Well, it's great shit, You don't need a lot of it because it's great shit, And it's like, yeah, still ain't an ounce over here. And then next thing you get home and it's all this skunk weed, and you need like smoke the whole bag just to get a high for one night, and you're like, what the fuck did I just pay for?
Well, and that's why it's great that it's legalized now, because that shit doesn't happen no more. If it's not an ounce, you got things to do about it now.
Well, yeah, exactly, and that's the beauty of it, because now, not only that, you know exactly what you're getting, okay, because like for right now, shameless plug for Ozone, elevate your experience. So they give you 1.5 gram pre-roll, which basically it's five little grams of pre-roll. Basically, it's rolled up already. All you have to do is just light it up and go. You get 3 to a pack. They cost you $25, and you get 26% THC, which is really quite high for a joint. Okay, because usually up before the regulation of marijuana, I mean, basically you were kind of vacillating between maybe anywhere from as low as 8% to like 10, 12%. But now you got these guys who, you pay more money, but then you get more bang for the buck. Now you're sitting there with a joint,
higher quality,
the higher quality and the cleanliness of it, and the purity of it, and the fact that, it's facilitated by, weed farms, which of course, there's a lot of things involved in it, but now you are getting what you're paying for, and it's really, really quite nice, and it's convenient. If you don't want to have a whole bag of weed lying around, you go ahead, you get this nice little small cigarette case looking thing, and, you get the 3 little joints, and I'm looking at it right now as we're talking. This one, it's got, 28% THC, which of course potency, and it even tells you what it's going to do. It's an indica, which means it'll make you, rest easy. It'll give you comfort. It's pain relief. It'll make you sleepy, and you can rest. You're basically good to take before you go to bed. And then you sleep nice. Then you got the sativa, which basically that's the one where it's like, it's go time. And the focus is razor sharp, and the moment is razor sharp. And you know what? You don't feel any pain when you're doing this kind of thing, but your brain it's in the moment. See, there's a difference between the two worlds. And the fact that a lot of stigma and a lot of things have happened with the whole sensibility with marijuana since 1934, when they started the whole propagandist thing about marijuana is bad.
The devil's lettuce.
The devil's lettuce, and it's, but all of that was based on nothing. It was just nothing more than propaganda scare tactics, because pharma, which was being paid into by the government at the time to be the thing, because the fact that they wanted to get all the people away from, the joy powder or the cocaine, which of course was in Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a while, yeah.
Yeah, for a long time.
Yeah.
And the fact that, you had opium and you had heroin and everything like that. And it became an illicit business to those who had the kind of money, and the opium dens and all that other shit that was happening in Hollywood, or back in the day when they was called Hollyweird, because it was. And they used to call the Keystone Cops the Cokie Cops, because that's both the silent actors and everything. They were all blasted and high on fucking cocaine making those crazy movies. That's how come they were making them so fast, and that's how come they were doing things so quick. Everybody was blasted and obliterated on this cocaine and on
they
the
didn't
opium.
have to speed up the film.
No, not at all.
They just give them, I'm kidding.
They just gave them the shit. They just went out and did their thing. And then, of course, the marijuana situation became the drug of choice, especially to musicians, which, of course, came up through the ranks of jazz, And, and here it is. You got Mr. Paul Whiteman. Jazz is going to be sophisticated and highbrow. And then you got...
It is when you took a whole bunch of weed.
Well, yeah. Well, then of course, you got Louis Armstrong saying, "Oh yeah, man, I'm taking this whole weed. Oh boy, Jeebus." And so that's why the government's just like, well, wait a minute, we can't have the black musicians with their devil's lettuce, taking over America, and we can't have the people in Hollywood with their cocaine and their opium and their heroin and shit. Let's go ahead and start putting out all of these movies about the evils of all these drugs. But yet at the same time, here comes Big Pharma, sweeps underneath and everything like that to put you on something that you're going to have for the remainder of your life, and it never meant to heal you. You know? Because if they healed you, then how then you don't have to pay for the medicine anymore. So that's I mean, there's a big controversy about that. I could go on, but I'm going to cut it off here. But anyway, when you got regulations in place, and there are vices to be regulated, and if regulated correctly, it could be proof beneficial to all parties involved.
I'm just surprised that that Nevada is the only state in the union in the United States.
Still.
That's still only the only one.
That's
because you'd think there'd be somebody else who would sit there and go, you know what, we could do this.
Well, I guess it also comes down to the power behind the gavels in each and every state. And do we have enough representatives in the government sensibilities that are as open-minded enough to say, hey, this can be a viable thing without us getting questioned by the Puritans and the religious, sensibilities and that.
So,
well, they talked about legalizing marijuana in the 90s. And it's finally starting to happen in more and more states.
Right, but I feel like I agree with Ivan on this, which is marijuana and gambling sex is like the third rail to America. It's not even the vice. It's the third rail of America, in which America has a problem where it doesn't know how to handle sex and sexuality and nudity and all that stuff.
Yeah, look what happened with Janet Jackson in the Super Bowl.
Right, exactly. I mean,
we're all a bunch of prudes, and Europe is looking at us like, wow.
Well, I mean, that's why
everybody's looking at us and they're saying, "What's the big fucking deal? Really?"
Yeah, I don't get it necessarily either. One of these days, someone's going to have to explain to me why it's okay to watch somebody slice somebody's head off, but I can't see some girl's boobs.
Don't see a boob. Nope. Can't see any boobs.
Can't see boobs.
Yeah.
Let alone 40-year-old boobs on like a hot music star. Can't see those at all. But
you want to see a guy get gunned down, you see blood splatter everywhere. That's okay.
Or you go 5 minutes with 10,000 rounds go off in 5 minutes, blood guts everywhere, but that's okay.
Or like, for example, when somebody gets hurt in football, and it's a really bad injury, and they replay it like 20 times, and then they slow-mo it and put in slow motion where they show you when it breaks.
Did you see, Jeff?
Morbid.
Jeff, did you see that Mets player that got hit in the face?
No, I did not.
That was like 1 or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
I didn't see that happen.
Why is it that people are focused in on the morbid? Okay, another example of that.
Like a lot of people watch NASCAR, or earlier would be the horrible crashes.
Yeah, the horrible crashes. Or, you go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they had a display there, which, several displays there, which really appalled me. Here it is, they got pieces of the airplane that Otis Redding went down in Lake Minnetonka in. On full display.
Okay.
Pieces of the plane. Or you go up to the pedestal, and there are the glasses.
Yeah, from John Lennon. Yeah, I know.
John Lennon's face when he got shot.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the fascination with calamity? It
reminds us of our mortality.
I mean, the only thing I can say is, I guess I'd rather that be in a museum than where it could be.
Yeah, in some dumbass collector's house.
Yeah, exactly. Some dumbass collector who's sitting there going, I've got the glasses for when John Lennon was shot. And you see right here, it'd be like on like the internet talking about it.
See the blood splatter on the temple?
Yeah.
Have you met people who want to take their record collections and turn them into a museum?
Pardon me?
Have you met people who want to take their record collections and make them a museum?
Well, you got cases where, just recently there was a well-known collector. He was with the United Harmony Singers of America.
Of the United Federation of Planets?
Well, no, but there is a real thing, though. Okay,
not Josh. Continue.
So what happens is that you had this collector, and he's has thousands and thousands and thousands of rare doo-wop 45s, which are now in the University of Rutgers. Okay, they actually saved his collection because, again, amidst the fact that happened with the fire at Universal Studios, where millions of tapes got burned up. That was in
the 80s, right?
No, that was in 2008.
Okay, all right.
So what happened was, so now these are the only.
I'm confused with the fire at Paramount. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. So there was a thought, so these are the last copies of actual first pressings of anything resembling whatever these groups, which most of them leveled, only maybe 500 copies here were made, 1,000 copies there, 2,000 copies here. I mean, stuff that's crazy obscure.
Yeah.
And so this guy had all of these records, and of course he worked with all of these harmony groups. There's Ronnie I, who is now considered legendary harmony group disc jockey and collector, which his collection has been sent to a museum as well. And then we just had a gentleman here in Chicago who just passed away, and he had probably the most primo soul and rhythm and blues collection of Southern soul and Chicago soul ever amassed. I mean, he had from every label that happened here in Chicago over the last 50-some years. Right. This guy.
So would you rather have a crack at a chance to get a piece of that collection, or would you rather pay admission to see it in a museum?
In due respect, okay. If the estate made it available for me to own a piece of it, I wouldn't mind us owning a little piece of it, okay? And that would just say, hey, this I could have, to say, yes, you know what, this record here, Eleanor Rigby by Gene Chandler, from Brunswick, okay, I got it out of so-and-so's collection, And I mean, that'd be a nice thing. That would be a bragging right of sorts, but not bragging, but it'd be something to talk about. But then it'd be just like my connection to a dude I followed and that I read about and that I heard about. I heard him play his records, and to know that I'm holding one of his records, that's an honor, and as long as it was if it was reasonably priced for that ownership, or if I needed that in my collection, I'll pay X amount of dollars for that copy because it was his copy. Okay,
yeah.
Sure. Okay, and I would see no harm in that. But if they respectfully put it in a museum, and they made an exhibit where you actually could just hear everything that was in the collection, or you could go in and sit down, and you have somebody there to actually bring the records out to you, and you listen to them on headphones, and you get to experience it live in that respect, or record it or such. Well, this is the collection. Okay, let's just say this is the collection of Jive and Ivan Rivera, 1960 to 20 whatever, and I would be thrilled. I would be thrilled to be able to preserve and, for the future generations, because, being a collector, just like you, Mike, being a collector, of toys, just like you, Jeff, being a collector of comic books, being collectors who we are, we do have a way about us that, if the future sees that we took the time to gather these things up and then make sure that they're not lost to the future generations, so be it, or you let it go on to other collectors, so that way it lives on with other collectors, or it lives on with other people that love it as much as you do, and I hope that someday, once I'm said and done, that someone will come in and say, hey, let's keep Ivan's collection intact, and let's bring it down to the University of Illinois, and let's put it in a vault, and let's hold on to it and let people, learn from what, he has in his collection. Because I got records in my collection that, that are long in a ways almost impossible to get now. And, and for me to have that good fortune to be able to, at the time, obtain it and then take care of it and then, preserve it and then present it and then be able to put it in a format where someday someone can reference it. That's a very high honor. Mm-hmm. So, so so I would have no problem with that at all. Not really.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, me too. I agree.
Yes, no. So that's because someday, your knowledge, Mike, your knowledge, Jeff, and my knowledge, is gonna be of huge of huge importance. And you might not think of it now, because this is fun. I love doing this. This is great. 20, 30 years down the line, the stuff that we collected and we love and everything isn't going to exist anymore. Okay, we are the last outs on that because we're preserving it.
Well, and the collector's market is changing. I mean, the kids, the younger generation, they're finding other things that they find a value with that the older generations don't see a value with, and vice versa.
But what comes around goes around. Okay.
Well, and the other thing though is it's such a different animal now. Mm-hmm. I mean, but when we did the estate sale and we did the house sale, mm-hmm. like stuff where I was like, that should sell, this should do well. Instead now they're all Googling shit to see what it costs.
And they're all looking at prices on eBay.
They're all looking it up. And they're all looking at prices on the eBay. And it takes it a step further. Like, depending on what the item is, they're sitting there going, well, do you have I'll give you an example, okay? I still have it. And I have it because I decided, screw it, I'm going to keep it. Which is, right. I have, when I was 5 or 6 years old, we happened to drive out to Cincinnati to go to Kings Island. And on that day, it just so happened, my parents decided we were going to go to see the Cincinnati Reds play the St. Louis Cardinals. I have no idea why, but that just so happens to be the one and only no-hitter by Tom Seaver. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you that I still have the ticket stubs. Okay? Yeah, they are not in mint condition. And I swear to you, I literally walked into somebody. I walked into a supposed memorabilia place. And the comment that the guy made was, well, do you have a certificate of authenticity? No, I don't have a certificate. Let me see if I got this right. You want me to go get this authenticated, and then to top it off, you may or may not buy it, and then you may make me you may sit there and lowball me to top it off. Forget it.
Because they want to resell it at market value. So many
right, because, and I got to tell you, I mean, in this day, I mean, what I sold my comic books for was criminal, but, I just got tired of it, which is, I'd have to sell them piecemeal. I'd have to take the time to put everything on eBay and do this and do that and all that stuff. And I got to tell you, it was just kind of, I mean, I don't know. I just don't find.
Well, okay, yeah, you got the whole, I understand, from before the situation with technology and the internet and everything like that, it all worked that way towards trying to work, to try to, keep the importance and the selling points on such things. I know, I mean, with records, it's crazy because you got Discogs, you got Gem, you got all these sites in addition to eBay and everything like that. And believe me, before the internet, you know what? It was my knowledge.
But you know what? It was before the internet, though, Ivan. I mean, I gotta be honest. It's before the internet. I mean, like, in terms of comics, like, I already had a feeling I was gonna have trouble with it when the time came, because you got magazines like Wizard happening where they're talking about how, it's got to be board and bagged, and it's got to be perfect, and then they're talking about the percentage of grade,
and price guides, and
all that kind of stuff
that are dictating their prices.
Right, and that's been out there for a while, and it's one of those.
You've had all that. That's true, that's true. But at least before the whole internet explosion and people looking on their phones on the internet, you had the people with the price guides, which we all know the price guides were never in a realistic state, only maybe to another collector, but never to the common man. So we use these as guides for references and things like that, but we never paid attention to the prices because most of the time it was bullshit, and they're just like, okay, but and then, you had your collectors magazines, and of course they had their own criteria, like with Goldmine. Oh, okay, it was, we had the grading system. You had mint, and you had very good, and, which of course could be very good plus, very good minus.
Yeah, well, now you have other services that will, like with, with comic books, you've got CCG, and with box figures, you got AFA, and get them graded and put them in acrylic cases so they'll never air will never touch them again.
Yeah, they even have now an app that you use on your phone.
Yeah, an app that you can use on your phone. Okay.
That there's an app on that you can use on your phone that you scan across the record, and it'll tell you what it is.
Not only that, you can read the label.
Well, no, it'll tell you what it is. It'll tell you the grade. It'll tell you the origin.
Okay, it'll grade it for you. Wow.
It'll tell you the grade, the origin. It'll read whatever stamp. It'll tell you where it was pressed and how many of this was pressed at any given time. I mean, crazy shit. And it's just like, wow, I mean,
I'll tell you. I mean, when we did the estate sale at the house, the entire time I was sitting there, I'm like, if I ever do one of these again, I am gonna find a way to block the entire internet signal in my entire location.
Turn the neighborhood into a dead zone so nobody can go online.
And turn it into a dead zone, or I'll take it a step further. You really want to have fun? Oh, you want internet? You have to pay me.
Right.
You want pay me. Wi-Fi address? You have to pay me for it.
Forget Wi-Fi because they're all on they'll all be on LT or 5G.
Right.
But if you make it a total dead zone, where the only way they get out of the dead zone is you have to pay.
Right. That way they're not looking stuff up, so you can be sure they can try and flip it for whatever.
Yep, exactly. I mean, I had stuff
which is such a terrible reality. The whole hoard and turn, which really sucks in any of it. Because you get guys jumping into
either you put the work in or you sell it at less than market value and just be happy that it's gone.
Right, exactly. But then you get these people, especially this is why I disregard Record Store Day. It totally fucking sucks. It doesn't benefit.
It's turned into a corporate grab, cash grab.
Yeah,
it's not about the record stores anymore. It's about the companies.
Yeah, exactly. And then, and on top of that, you got these people that it doesn't benefit the record stores at all because the record stores don't even get a choice of what happens with Record Store Day. They just dump all this shit that they're hoping you're going to sell in your store, which, believe it or not, by and large, about 50% of the stuff that happens on Record Store Day doesn't sell. It peg warms. It stays warm in the bin.
They wait until it goes to clearance, and then they'll flip it. People will flip it.
And then they'll flip it.
Because they're just the collectors for the sake of being a collector's item.
Right, exactly. And then
I will say Free Comic Book Day is not nearly that bad.
Did they postpone Comic Book Day this year because of the pandemic?
I don't know.
Because it's usually the first Saturday in May.
Yeah, I would imagine.
I think they did.
I don't have a comic book store in my neighborhood anymore.
I got one right down the street. Oh, sorry. G-Source, which, of course, is the one I got down the street from here, which I only have access to that for only a few more months until I move to my new digs. But, yeah. But, no, I didn't see a record. Listen to me. I didn't see a free comic book day this year.
I don't know. Maybe they're having it later. I have no idea. I haven't looked at. Well,
let me look it up.
I didn't see one in May. Well, that I can tell you that for sure. There wasn't one in May that I know of.
Right. I don't think they. Yeah, I think they kind of went away from it. But I mean, even then though, it's kind of funny.
June 16th.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, so we missed it.
No.
So we missed
it. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Wait, June 16th.
June 16th was. Wait, June 16th.
Yeah,
that was Wednesday. Wait a minute.
No, I can't be a Wednesday.
Hold on.
There's no way they did that on a Wednesday.
Hold on. I'm looking here.
Oh, well, wait a minute. Maybe July 16th. Maybe.
That's not a weekend.
No, it's always on a Friday, no, right?
Because July 4th is a Sunday.
August.
So
I'm sorry. Yes, August 14th.
Okay.
All right. Yeah.
That
okay.
Makes sense.
That's the 20th. Because this year's the 20th anniversary of Free Comic Book Day.
Is it really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm waiting for my favorite artist who came up with Unnatural. Now she's come up with a new comic book called Hot Paprika, which I've been anxiously awaiting for her to come out with. It's already popular, across the pond. I can't wait till the English language comes here. And I think it's supposed to be July 21st. I think those issues will be made available here. And they had a big launch and everything. They came out with a PVC figure of Paprika, the devil, which she's a female devil character who's in love with this angel who just can't.
Does it come with holes?
I don't know about holes. It does come complete with his. It does complete with whole. It comes complete with a tail and horns. Yeah, that it comes with. but well, yeah. So I'm waiting for that to come out, and I'm anxious to read that story. Oh, by the way, speaking of 3D, the 3D, when they make the plastic 3D printings. You know what I just recently read? I read that they are now making 3D urns to put your ashes in the shape of your head.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
No. Not doing it.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, go ahead.
Nope.
An urn the shape of your loved one's head to put their ashes in.
Nope.
Yeah. Yep.
That's a no for me.
That's a gigantic no. That's a big fat no.
I saw that. Julie showed me that online today, and I looked at it and says, "Oh my God, that's almost as heinous as having my ashes pressed into a record." I mean, come on. I don't think anybody
if Ivan got himself pressed into the record, it would be a record that skipped and went, yeah man. Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
That'd be April Love by Pat Boone.
April Love by Pat Boone on the first
wow. Yeah, there'll be drops in the middle like, groovy like a Hollywood movie. Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
And now more Pat Boone.
As far as everything else is concerned.
It would be replete just like the Ivatron 3000.
That's right.
I know one drop.
Yeah, you were sporting some Echo yesterday. You had your little gospel thing going on. I half expected you to have like a purple robe on and have like a Pope hat.
Well, what it was I was trying to soften up some of the harder edges of the 78s. I was playing on the blues night, which unfortunately I had a bad cable that session and my sound was abysmal. So what I did was I went on a late overnight run and I tried to soften up the otherwise dry sound with a touch of echo, and I guess I forgot to turn the echo off, and I just went on.
So he channeled the Assyrians.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it wasn't that bad. The echo was subtle.
It was very subtle. I mean, no, I wasn't going to go for the heinous, oversaturated, reverberant thing, Right. But
it's so funny because it's so funny because I've wanted to do stories about our times at the radio station, and I'm just not sure how I do them without offending everybody.
But see, that's the thing.
I'm just not sure how I do it. To talk about the Assyrians, it's that's offensive. It's true. What do you want me to say? This is how it works.
Yeah. Well, maybe if you don't mention the Assyrians per se, you should just go ahead and just say some of our brokers of different languages who are just infatuated.
Let me tell you something. If I'd even tried to something like I had some brokers that would show up in a Volkswagen bus and they would take over and they would drown themselves at echo and start using machine gun fire. I'm telling you right now, I still would get people going. You're talking about Arabs. I know you're talking about Arabs.
I'm offended.
And there's nothing I can do.
Yeah, and of course, when they're not busy fighting outside of the studio for a couple of German women fighting each other in Grenella.
Right. I can't, that. You know what the funny part is? That story I can tell and get away with because it's German women and you can get away with that a little bit. But, anything it was funny because I made it.
Middle Eastern or, from.
Yeah,
that type of thing,
I would. If I ever sat there and talked about, how I used to sometimes use as a sign-off for the Double Overtime show, those wacky, zany Albanians are coming next. You can't say that.
I can relate. I had a similar situation.
Those are different times, though. Those are different times,
yes, they were.
Right. Well, that's what I mean. It's like, how do I tell? It's there's a part of me where it's I want to tell somebody stories. Okay. I was thinking about, who I was thinking about, Ivan? You'll get a kick out of this. Because you talk about character. Ifti Nassim. Okay? I mean, the guy he's a gay Pakistani who wears a fur coat who loves Elvis. But can't sing a lick.
Oh my God, wait a minute. Hold on a second. I worked on his show a few times.
Yes, you did.
Was this over at VVX?
Oh, was that VVX? Oh my God! Yes, he used to sing over those badly recorded Elvis tracks.
Right.
Oh,
that's why. What, Ivan? Why do you think I used to tell you? Why I used to tell those stories to you recently, on the show about Ifti Nassim? It's because I knew you worked with him before. You hadn't put two and two together. No, years later, I ran into him at WSPC, and he remembered me from VVX. So we were talking, and then the best part is, he lived. Because he's gone now. He lived in my aunt's building.
Oh,
yeah, I think you just said you guys ran into him in the elevator.
No, I understand. I understand. Now Ivan's going to get this story a little better. So he lived in my aunt's building, and we're coming back from Thanksgiving, and the elevator opens, and there's Ifti sporting a fur coat, and he's like, "Hey, Jeff, how you doing?" My entire family has this look over me
how do you know this person? What is happening?
Exactly. And I'm like, and it was fun. It's before they even get to that part where they're looking at me like I'm a crazy person, I'm like, "Hey, Ifti, how you been?" "Oh, not bad." I'm like, "Oh, you on your way?" And they're like, "Oh, yeah. And they're all looking, and it's funny. They're all looking at me until I say, "So you guys show tonight?" And they're like, "Oh, that makes sense."
But
my whole family looked like, how do you know this person? But like I said, yes, Mike, I have told this story before, but clearly Ivan had not put two and two together on who this was.
I mean, now it jogs my now starting to fade memory of that whole scenario, because I remember, I was sitting in Studio B, and he was in Studio A over at VBX and everything like that, and he is just carrying on. I've got the monitor going on in the studio, in Studio B, and I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Well, the problem is, the problem is, in fairness, I will tell you that later on he got better with this. He did finally figure it out. But at the time when you had him, his thought process was, you know, in order for it to get louder, you had to turn the pots all the way up.
Right, exactly.
And you would get mad at him trying to explain to him.
The signal will go farther. It'll reach more people that way.
Right. That was what his thought process was.
It says the red, it was better. So it was
right. I will tell you, like 5 years later when I saw him, he finally figured out that was not right. But I mean, he still bounced way too far into the red at times. And I was able to take him down because I was in another studio and I was able to make it work and he didn't know. But but I still remember because you're like, I don't remember how many times you walked into the studio and you're like, that doesn't work that way. And no matter how many times you told him, he just didn't believe it.
He just kept doing the same thing over and over again.
It's not that he didn't care, Mike. He just didn't believe him. That's the problem. The problem was he didn't believe him because when he would put it, he would assume that the volume got louder because he heard it on the speakers that it got louder. Not that he didn't realize that, like, over the air, it's like sounding like distorted garbage. And
exactly. I think there was one time I actually, monitored his show, and I think I recorded his show one day, and it says, "Come here, this is what your show sounds over the air." And he was just like, just look at me, why does it sound so bad? And I said, that's
because you're in the red.
You're in the red.
Yeah.
Red does not mean better. Red does not mean farther. And he just kind of looked at me with this quizzed look on his face like, okay. Go back and he'd do it again. Mm-hmm. And I was like, so we had to second board him for a little bit where basically had to sit there, feed everything into an alternate board and actually try to monitor him.
Yeah. You know what was, I remember in college the big debate one on about slamming into the red was, and we got into it with a professor who said, "Oh no, it's meant to be that way, and there's a way to do it where it's okay." And it was Whitney Houston's "I Will Always Love You" because there's that one note we all know which one I'm talking about.
When that big verse hits,
right. Where it's like there's nothing you can do. No matter how low you put it on the board, it's slamming all the way through the top. And it was like, and the problem is like you're trying to set the level, and it's like, okay, it's almost like you have to pull the level down right before it happens. And this one old timer was like, that, it's been engineered that way. And we're like, oh, really? And we tramps down, and because we were all fighting him on it, and we tramps down to like a production room, and he's going to show us that he's right. And it was so funny because he was wrong.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, it was you get to these things where you could bounce. I mean, you got from 0 to 100 pounds on a VU meter, and then you got the 1, 2, 3 in the red, and you could bounce into the red every so occasionally. You can bounce +1, +2, but not totally crank.
Not very.
And that's the problem with that song that everybody had a problem with when I was in college when we used to have to play that song in the 90s as part of the format. It's that thing. There was no kick. It was boom, goodbye. You're in the red. They're beyond the red. The damn meters are out and almost ready to break. Nothing you can do.
Yeah, you're watching the red distortion lights flashing at you. You're like, holy shit.
That's what the limiter's for, right? That's not my job.
Well, yeah, that's what the limiter was for. But see, even then, the limiters are calibrated to a certain percentage point in the wave. And of course, that's why that's kind of like the second line of defense when you got people. But, we're working on mono FM and then mono AM, which trying to limit mono AM. It's like trying to strain milk through coffee grounds, and it's just like and it was just that's just what it was, because AM is a woozy, lazy type of signal.
At the time I was doing it, I was at college, so it was the FM. It was the 30,000 watt FM, and I think we were stereo, but
yeah, but then
it was funny because it's like I love to walk up to like the sound engineer who created that freaking song and be like, "What the fuck were you thinking?" Because that's not like a short pin into the red that you can like handle for a minute. That's like, and it's not short. It's a while because she holds that note.
Yeah, she holds a note when that after that pause.
She holds it for a clear 9 seconds on that song, and
right.
you're just
and yeah.
Wow. And so, yeah, but see, when you're going in a recording studios, they've got buffers, they got limiters, they've got
right, but they have to know. They
know that this is a radio disc jockey's worst nightmare.
Right. They had to know, like, when they were recording. As a matter of fact, that's probably exactly why they did it.
Well,
watch a whole bunch of radio guys get pissed off? Let's play this.
Yeah.
And see what they do.
And then it became a runaway hit from the Bodyguard.
Right.
Right.
But that's why I laugh, because it's like, you know what? That's exactly what it is. That's a bunch of coked out sound engineers working on that record. Working on that record going, let's piss off a whole bunch of radio DJs.
Yeah. And Dolly Parton's like, I don't care, I got paid. I got
paid.
Right.
And I didn't have to do that on my version of the song.
No, she didn't.
So you got
Isn't her version of the song in the Best Little Whorehouse in Texas?
No, yes, it is.
Okay.
Is it? Isn't it?
Yes, it is.
By the way, I went on a wild goose chase the other day because for some strange reason I thought Ned Beatty had been in Best Little Whorehouse in Texas and he was not.
Now he's been in a couple of.
He was on Love Boat. That I know.
Ned Beatty, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, he was.
You know what? You know, I kept thinking. I know he had done some stuff with Burt Reynolds, and I guess it was
Stroker Ace. Yeah,
it was Stroker Ace.
Yeah.
He
had some hits and some misses with his film career. We talked about it.
Well,
I talked about him briefly last week, but yeah.
Right. Well, it was funny. There's one where I thought he was the governor, but it was Charles Durning. It wasn't. It wasn't Ned Beatty. So it was funny. I was trying to find Ned Beatty's like song and dance number from Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, and then I realized it wasn't Ned Beatty. It was Charles.
Well, speaking of motion pictures, okay, I remember one time, Mike, when you told me, well, you read about, Johnny Cash and how you would never walk the line again. I came up with a discovery just the other night going on the internet. I ended up going into this wormhole, and I found out about Johnny Cash's first wife. I had no idea
Vivian?
that she was black. I had no idea.
That. Wow, that no. That I didn't know.
And what kills me is that in the how do you pronounce his name again? Joaquin?
Joaquin Phoenix. That's correct. That's the correct pronunciation. Joaquin.
You're such a dick. It's Joaquin.
Joaquin Phoenix? Okay.
Yeah.
Joaquin Phillips. That is.
Well, I don't know.
It's all right. It's okay. Yeah, it's Joaquin.
So, okay, hard J, soft J, just call the whole thing off. But what it was that I read about Vivian on this discovery page. It was, because I belong to the Johnny Cash, appreciation page, and there was a bunch of pictures of Vivian, and I'm looking at her, and it goes, she looks black. And then I read into the paragraphs, and the more I read into it, and found out that yes, indeed, and of course the fact that Cash had to lie and telling everybody that she was Irish and German and some other, nationality to hide the fact that she was black. and then the thing is, then I went to the movie, thinking about the movie, and I'm like, didn't they portray Vivian as white with the two girls in the movie?
Yeah, she was played by Jennifer Goodwin.
Yeah, so that just totally blew me out of the water and just made me think, well, I guess I too am not going to watch this movie ever again because the representation's just not even there. A representation that's been missing up until today, and I'm just like, it's one of those mind-blowing moments. I'm just like, what? And I'm just like, I was.
But you know what the funny part is? That will. I don't think that'll ever get made into a different movie because
of that.
His performance and the fact that Reese Witherspoon is phenomenal in that movie.
Well, she really is.
She's spectacular.
Yeah.
She's spectacular.
The performances are great and the emotions are there, but it's just so historically inaccurate. Because after he died, I read his book. Partially written by his son, and there was.
Yeah, so again, here we go with the famous, gibonic term of, Hollywood treatment. And it's just sad. It's just sad that we're discovering as time goes on how much of history is becoming rewritten on that whole point of it, and how much American history is really missing out of.
I'm just curious whether or not I would be curious whether or not who was involved from Carter and Cash and in the production of that movie if they were involved in all.
Well, Johnny Cash did have a lot of some input in the film, but the producers and the directors made this out to be a love story, and Vivian was portrayed as the villain in this film. She was not portrayed in a good light, and I remember I think she might have sued the studio for defamation.
Well, yeah,
maybe that's why they portrayed her as white.
Well, and the fact
you know what? That's probably exactly why they portrayed her as white. Could you imagine the backlash if they had portrayed her? They had portrayed her as a black woman, and then he went and ran off with
with Reese Witherspoon, which of course was the reality,
right?
So here it is. You got June Carter Cash, who was of the matriarch of the Carter, one of the matriarchs of the Carter family, with Maybelle Carter, with the Carter family, who literally were the first family of country music. Talked about really, rocking the apple cart on that. It's like it just totally loosens up a lot of things. And right up there with, Betty Boop was also black. Okay, Little Esther. And it just goes on and on and on. And how much more of this is going to actually start coming to light, and you're just going to have these aha and oh-ho moments, and you're just thinking everything you ever thought you knew about it was not correct. It's in a way, it's a little disheartening. Because you're just like, Johnny Cash, I think the world of Johnny Cash.
She passed away in 2005, and a book came out in 2007. Was a personal memoir had been released.
Right. So with that, in fact, and then thinking back to the first part of that movie, they portrayed Vivian as the ultimate bitch throughout the first part of the movie.
But you read his biography, and they were very much in love. They had 4 daughters.
So, the only thing I could say is look, you only got, this isn't, I know what you guys are saying, but I'm looking at this from a perspective of what you're trying to build the movie to do. If you're trying to build the movie and your objective is to basically tell the story of how Johnny Cash got together with June Carter Cash.
That was the goal of the film.
Then the problem becomes and I think this is just a guess, okay, which is if you make Vivian Cash black, you have a lot of other story that you need to tell because that takes you away from what you're trying to do. And I'm sure at some point somebody sat there and said, it would just be easier if we just made, especially the other part, like I said, if you're going to make her out to be the villain anyway, why not just make her not be black and go a different direction with this? And this isn't really the part of the story.
Right, exactly. Well, then you're making a total fallacy like every other Hollywood movie about musicians and or people that are artists and such like that. It just, then of course, you get people to going back and Googling and going on the internet, and then of course people tip off everybody else, and then it just gets to thinking, wait a minute, well, why did that person...
Well, here's the question. Here's the question I would have for you, which is, and I'll say this, which is, I'll throw it this direction.
Okay.
Which is, okay, so let's say I see the movie. Now I'm fascinated by all this with Johnny Cash, and I go to the internet and I go find all these things, And now I find out all the things that you're talking about.
Right.
Isn't that a good thing?
Well, yes, it is.
So I mean, I understand where you're coming from. But I'll give you the flip side to it, which is maybe somebody doesn't go and check and figure out all that stuff.
And they'll just be sitting with just that story then. And if they're good with that, okay, I'm not going to take that away from them.
No, I don't mean that way. But think about all the people who did, as a result of that movie, went out and did check on it and found what they found and know the truth, because quite frankly, otherwise they wouldn't have known it.
Well, that's true. Okay. Point made. You're right. I get it. Okay.
No, I'm not. And by the way, I'm not defending the choices. I'm just saying they're.
I'm agreeing with you as to how you're putting this across. I'm agreeing with you on that point of it. Okay.
I mean, I'll give you an example. Okay. I'll give you an example. Okay. This is a little bit different, but like when I tell the story of what happened when I got into that car accident, one of the things that for a while in my TEDx, which was sticking, was people would get confused as to where I was sitting in the car to explain what happened. And the problem became when I went to go explain when I went to try to get into more detail to explain where I was sitting in the car, it got to be where it was a lot of rigmarole. People weren't getting it. People still weren't understanding it. And at some point I sat there and said, you know what? It's not important. It doesn't move my story forward. It doesn't really help. If they're going to disconnect here with it, they're going to disconnect with it, and so be it.
So you drop it out.
So I dropped it out, and so that's that, and that doesn't necessarily mean, and I hate to say it, again.
I see where you're going with that. But there's a difference when you're dropping something out. Just like, had I been the director of Ring of Fire, okay, if I wasn't going to
Walk the Line was the name of the film.
Or Walk the Line, Ring of Fire. Walk the Line. If I was the director of that, I would have gone, with what happened to his brother and when he went into the army. And then I had to play light and shadow with it. Then maybe I could have touched upon very briefly his early life with his family. I would have gone from that right straight into his recording career at Sun, and then would have taken off, and I would have just cut that whole thing out altogether. In fact, I would have eliminated that whole part of it because, obviously, that part with his first wife being what it is, and there was a lot of love in that family and everything. To portray her, then you ask yourself, to portray Vivian, as a wonderful black wife with wonderful half-black children and everything, against making her being this villainous, nasty, whiny, always complaining person that had to deal with his addictions and everything like that. and I see, and then of course the fact that, she knew that, of his infatuation with June Carter Cash and such. And that, June Carter Cash having her own baggage that she had to deal with. For me, if I directed that, I would have probably just sidestepped that whole thing, just like you sidestepped that whole situation, just because, does it add that kind of a value to the story? No, we all know that Johnny Cash had addictions. We all know he went to jail. We all knew he was on drugs. We all knew that, he worked at Sun. We all knew that happened to his brother. We all knew that. For those who are deep fully into the whole history of Johnny Cash. Now, should that have been part of the movie, I guess from just going forward? No. If you're not gonna, if people aren't privy to that part of his life, really, why would you include it? And then include it in a way that just shines a very bad light on the person, when in fact, Vivian herself was just this wonderful person. It's just like, it was just like in Great Balls of Fire, okay, and with
Winona Ryder as the cousin.
As the cousin, okay, see, which, they went straight forward into that, right front and center, with what happened with Jerry Lee Lewis, and so that so this.
Yeah, but Jerry had a lot of Jerry's still alive, and he had a lot of input in that film.
Yeah,
it was a puff piece for himself. I mean, obviously he was the hero of the story.
Well, yeah, of course. And that's because no matter what you talk about Jerry Lee Lewis, it'll always be his version beyond others, because you know what, the guy painted himself bigger than life. I mean, just like the last line in the movie. If I'm going to go to hell,
he's the last one standing.
Yeah,
is he?
Yeah,
and he said it. He says, well, I'm going to go to hell. I'm going to go there playing the piano. And guess what? Since that whole fallout and everything and everything that happened with it, but I mean, somewhere, just like you said at the end of the movie, somewhere in the United States, he's playing somewhere, and he did. He ended up playing
maybe
someplace, somewhere for the remainder of his life.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll be happy to see him in Branson.
Well, I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it.
Which is ironic on so many levels, because you're talking Bible Belt land, and there's Jerry.
Well, yeah,
flying away.
Well, Kenny Rogers, he got kicked out of Branson. Yeah.
Did he really?
Yeah, he had
Jimmy Rogers got kicked out
hookers.
Of Branson?
Yep, hookers.
Wait,
oh my God!
Really?
Yeah, true.
How did I miss this?
Wow. We're
Kenny
talking
Rogers
Jimmy
got kicked out of Branson?
Yep.
We're talking about Jimmy Rogers' Honeycomb Branson. I mean, Jimmy Rogers who did Honeycomb and all those songs?
No. Kenny. He said Kenny Rogers.
Oh, Kenny Rogers. Oh, I thought you said, okay. Kenny Rogers?
Kenny Rogers. Yeah, like the gambler, Kenny Rogers. Like the legendary.
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy.
That's insane. That's
crazy.
Jimmy Rogers. Who the hell's Jimmy Rogers?
No, Jimmy Rogers. Don't snuff on Jimmy Rogers now. Jimmy Rogers, there were two of them. Okay, there was the Father of Country Music Jimmy Rogers from 27. Then there was
I'm sure there was an NBA Jimmy Rogers somewhere too, considering all.
But then, of course, then there was the Jimmy Rogers in the 1950s. He had a bunch of great records, a bunch of rockabilly and popular records. Kisses Sweeter Than Wine, Honeycomb was a big hit for him.
Kenny Rogers got kicked out of Branson?
Kenny Rogers, damn.
How did I miss that?
And he was hooked up in I guess there was back in 2012, 2013, he was in a phone sex scandal that almost destroyed his career or something like that.
Wow. Speaking of things that are scandalous, did you hear the latest on Dolly Parton? They say that she's going to retire to go into the wellness industry.
What do you mean?
Oh, I guess pushing some kind of weight loss sensibility now. Yeah, Dolly Parton. I mean, the word out there now that I read is that she's retiring from country. She's retiring from music, and that she's going into the wellness industry. Kind of like what a number of stars are doing now. How they, just like Snoop Dogg's into the, the medicinal marijuana thing. I'm trying to think. There's a number of movie stars that are now starting to get into the medicinal thing. They're getting into the wellness thing now, and they're all like, oh, well, movies are nice, but now we want to make you feel better, that type of thing. And the most recent one I read about was Dolly Parton now leaving music to go into the wellness business. I don't know if it was a bunch of bunk I just read, but it looked a bit convincing to me, but I could be wrong, but it's out there, and I'm thinking to myself, why would you want to do that at this point in your life? I mean, unless you're tired of singing, and your net worth is $300 million, you're just like, okay, why do it at all? Just retire. Instead of just being a part of some crazy scheme, which seems to be the way that's going with a lot of these people now. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, he died in, what was it, March? He died in March of last year, Kenny. But I don't know about Dolly. I don't know about that.
I don't know.
Well, I heard there's just...
She did a lot of good for her neck of the woods, her neighborhood. I mean, when there was that fire, she donated a lot of money to help the locals. So she's done, done a great service to her, giving back to the land, so to speak.
Well, she was a philanthropist. Is that the word?
Yeah, it's a good word. Yeah, with Dollywood and all that. Yeah, she.
Yeah. Okay.
Making money off her brand.
Something about. Well.
Wow, I said a 25-cent word. Wow.
Here, let's see. Roast chicken and phone sex, the juiciest parts of Kenny Rogers. Wow, that's a horrible thing. God bless. God bless. Man.
What was the name of that Kenny Rogers NASCAR? He was a race car driver, and then had a bunch of orphans with him. Oh God.
Oh, that movie. And it had a great song in it too. Damn it.
Oh, Six Pack.
Six Pack.
God, that wasn't a great movie.
That was not good.
No,
that was not a great movie. That was not a great movie at all.
A good song came out of it, and I think that was the only thing I remember from it.
God.
Yeah.
Dolly Parton. It's funny. Other than were there any other movies besides 9 to 5 that Dolly Parton was in that was any good?
She did some Christmas specials, I think, but
she did.
Movies. We were talking movies.
She did Rhinestone with John Travolta. That was
that was Sylvester Stallone.
Oh, Sylvester Stallone. Okay, and then there was Talk Radio. She did
wasn't so good. Yeah.
They were pretty fucking bad.
And of course, the Best Little Whorehouse in Texas.
Best Little Whorehouse. That might be the closest to it.
That's probably the best of all the movies next to 9 to 5 that I think she made.
9 to 5 was her best film, obviously.
Well, right. Yeah. We're saying 9 to 5 is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was the joint.
I really wanted to
Stop
find
or
that
my mom will shoot. No, that wasn't Stop or my mom will shoot. That was the girl. That was the lady from Golden Girls.
Yeah, that's Estelle Getty.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Estelle Getty suddenly looking very, very much younger than she does on the Golden Girls. Which I was like, what?
I don't think she was made. I think they made her up to be older than what she was.
They did. Well, okay, but when you're growing up as a kid and suddenly you're sitting there going, "Oh, Estelle Getty, wow," and they're like looking and going, "That's not Estelle Getty. She's older than that. I've seen her on TV. She's that old lady."
Yeah, well, the same could be said about Betty White, but she is that old.
Right. Well, but all of a sudden, Estelle Getty's got brown hair, full on brown hair, and all that stuff.
Yeah, Six Pack had Aaron Gray in it. Ooh.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Was she wearing the? Okay, so another movie with Aaron Gray in a jumpsuit. Got it. Good to know. Yeah, that jumpsuit.
Put that in the file. Yep.
Yeah. We'll put that in file 13.
How bad do you think Alfonso Rivera and Ricky Schroeder were having problems every day on set of Silver Spoons with her walking around like that?
And those young boys are going through changes.
Oh my God! I'm sure they made more than their fair share of trips to the bathroom.
I mean, you know that both of them had to have seen that Buck Rogers show where she's in the skin tight outfits, ridiculous.
Yeah, with the zipper in the front.
That had to happen, right?
My gosh.
Oh no! Yeah.
You know that.
My Lord, it's getting hot in here.
Yeah, well, Aaron Gray being the beauty that she was, then to see Linda Blair in a similar suit and much more awful movie doing the same thing, and she's looking at someone with a big old gun in her hands and she's pulling the zipper down on this one-piece suit, and you're thinking, nah, that's not a good look.
Well, like I said, it's just saying, probably, Ricky Short probably started going,
Yeah, he's got the echo going, yeah.
He better.
Yeah. He was bad.
We were supposed to talk about a whole lot of other shit today, but we're kind of running long.
Yeah, we're long today.
I know Mike had something he really wanted to talk about, so I guess
we just kind of got lost in it.
Yeah, we'll cover it next week.
I was going to say, Mike can talk about it. I mean, the only things I'm aware of for this past week that are of note are, well, obviously we both saw Loki, so what did you think of that?
Episode 2 of Loki, all shit's going down. And somebody, a mutual friend of ours on Facebook said, here's my take on what's going on here. And I think I kind of agree with him. I'm not going to throw any spoilers down, but things are not what they seem. And I think, and this is interesting where this is going. I'm really.
We'll see.
And there's only 4 more episodes to go, so.
You're enjoying it more than I am. I will tell you that now.
I'm digging it.
I'm enjoying Owen Wilson, but and the back and forth. The only thing I was going to say is the Ren Fair really in Oshkosh? I thought the Ren Fair was somewhere else.
Maybe it was in the 80s. I don't know.
No. The Ren Fair's. Yeah. So Ivan will get kicked out of this. The beginning of the episode starts with them going back in time to the Ren Fair in Wisconsin, which I'm like dying of laughter.
Yeah, because I remember it being in Wisconsin.
Right, it is, but I don't think it's as far up as Oshkosh. But I don't know, maybe there's obviously
there's one in Kenosha.
Right, that's what I'm thinking about. That's, you know what? It's just fiction. I need to remember it's fiction. But there's somebody besides me going, "This is Kenosha." Yeah, that's Kenosha.
Yeah, I liked episode 2 Loki. I watched it in my I dropped Wednesday, so I had to wait until I got back to my hotel Wednesday night. Because I'll talk about next week my trip to RoboCon. It was great.
Okay.
But episode 2 of Loki was good. I'm enjoying this.
I think the only other things I was going to mention was, so we before we get to the one thing I was going to mention, so I did see Luca.
Yeah, on Disney Plus.
On Disney Plus, I really enjoyed it.
Good. I'm going to watch it.
I really enjoyed it. It was solid. It was a good.
I forgot it was coming out. So when I saw your notification, I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch that.
Yeah, no,
I'm going to catch that too. Although you were right in what you said about those of the Politica might have a thing with it, and I'm just thinking, why? I mean, from what I saw in the rushes, I thought it was just pure entertainment. There were some people out there that were kind of saying, "Oh, this is like second tier Pixar, blah blah blah," and I'm thinking, the fuck do you know? I mean, it's just like, and then you said you gave it a good review, and I'm just like, okay. So, go ahead.
It's not second tier Pixar, but the messaging at the end is a message we all need to hear. But how do I put this? It's a message we all need to hear, but I have this sinking feeling that there are going to be some people, depending on your political spectrum, they're going to look at the message and be like, there's Hollywood in trying to dictate to our kids again. So,
okay.
I'll just leave it there.
We'll leave that, and we'll make our own judgments when we see the film.
Exactly. I thought the animation was good. I thought it was fun. A little bit of a tearjerker at the end, but it was like I said, it was worth seeing. Make sure you stay all the way to the end of the credits. After the end of the credits, there is a post credit. The only other thing I was going to bring up, because I know Mike probably saw it too, is so we got they said we were going to get a Titans trailer. They didn't say it was going to be that ridiculously short and that hard to see.
Yeah.
What is with them in this, like, I don't want to show, we want to show you something, but we're not going to really show it to you because we're going to make everything every fucking dark thing on the wall.
It's in Gotham City.
Yeah.
Don't show anything. It's in darkness.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to keep the spoilers from spoiling, I guess,
No, they just want to not show anything and just trying to go to less is more approach in the darkness.
Right. And the best is you've got a lot of people who are going to sit there and be like, well, it's Gotham and it's night and it's dark. Yeah, I know, but you could make it so we can fucking see. That'd be helpful. I will, so I'm just going to put it out there, which is, based on the trailer, we're going to go someplace really, really dark in this show. We're going to, no, I'm serious. I'm serious. We may be going, this show may go to one of the darkest moments in the history of DC Comics. Based on the way that what was portrayed in the trailer, I'm very interested to see how this is going to play out, because this is, in the comics, that's a brutal ass moment, and it's nasty, and it's hard to read, really hard to read. It's really cringeworthy. When I read it in the comics as a kid, I was sitting there and I was like, I read it when I was older, but man, it's a cringeworthy moment,
jarring,
and it's brutal. It's really brutal, and
mortifying, huh?
Well, so I'll just be honest because it's in the trailer, which is the way they're playing it off, Ivan. They're going to show Jason Todd get killed.
Oh shit!
Right. I mean, the trailer has it where he's walking around by himself, and you can
in an
hear
amusement park.
In an amusement park, and you can hear the Joker laughing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like sitting there, and I'm like, okay, wow, we're gonna go there, huh?
I'm surprised he made it through season 2.
Well,
and of course they didn't alleviate anything into the fate of Donna Troy, so we don't know what's going on.
Right. Well, and so the biggest problems I have on what I'm seeing in season 3, and here's where I'm really confused. And I'm not against it. I'll watch what it is and I'll see it, but it's very interesting to see what they've decided to do about season 3. I mean, they decided for some strange reason this season is all based in Gotham. Which it's and my understanding is the big villain is Scarecrow, which doesn't make any sense because he's not a Titans villain.
Nope.
And then to top it off, we were working towards Starfire's sister Blackfire, but now it seems like I didn't see anything about that. And then, like you said, we have nothing about. I mean, it just suddenly seems like they're really going to play into this whole Batman. Lonely Place of Dying, that whole 9 yards about stuff, and I'm kind of like sitting there, and I'm like, I'm not sure, I don't know.
Based on what I saw, I don't know if Hawk and Dove had broken up, or I don't remember what happened after season 2, what those two were in, but they're in it, which is good because I like those 2 characters in this. Well, we'll see. I'm obviously going to watch it, but yeah, you're right. It went in a direction we didn't think was going to go, and all right.
There is the plot twist.
Yeah, well, it's not a plot twist. It's like this is not
a plot twist.
This ain't what I signed up for.
Well, like I said, it's
big fucking surprise then.
Well, I mean that's the thing. I mean, here's the thing. What season 3 looks like in some ways is it's like somebody sat there and said, hey, let's basically lean into all the Batman stuff from Dick Grayson, and since we've got Jason Todd, we're going to lean into that too. And there's only one thing I can think of as to why you would go down this road. I mean, which is, season 3 was a question mark at one point because of the fact that it was moving from DC Universe to HBO Max, and it was a question on whether or not that was going to really happen or not. And so I just wonder, I really do wonder, I really wonder if somebody's not just sitting there going, well, if we base it in some Batman stuff, then maybe we'll spike a rating and we'll get some people to come watch the show and that'll help keep the show on the air. And I don't know. I don't know what to think.
The producers or whoever, they don't have enough confidence in these characters and these storylines that they can support the show.
Well, I think the problem becomes that it's not even that they're not confident in that. I think the problem becomes the continued problem that's been there for a while, which is, you're talking about. I mean, the best way to put it is you're talking about the fact that you're in a situation where, we're talking about Warner Brothers. And the truth is, Warner Brothers, at the end of the day, Warner Brothers still only knows what Warner Brothers knows. And so it becomes a situation where it's like, they know Dick Grayson, they know that character, but they don't know, I don't know. I mean, that's just the only way I can
put it. Maybe they just don't know what to do with it.
Well, it's not that they don't know what to do with it. It's, okay, they seem to be in a situation where they're trying to figure out a way to keep the show alive, and this might be the answer to go down that road.
Well, let's hope that let's just hope the dice throw that made that decision works.
And the trailer is misleading in the sense that we're going to get some Blackfire, we're going to get more of Garfield, and a little bit of Superboy. We'll see.
Garfield the cat in this?
No,
Beast Boy.
I know.
Who's got the water running? Who's taking a piss?
Not me.
No comment.
Okay. So,
no comment.
Yeah. All right. Got it.
It's been a long show.
Yeah, it has been. We're running 2.5.
It's been a long show. I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, but we're just having all this fun.
Yeah. Talking about nude beaches and blue hair everywhere.
Oh, and of course,
the entertainment industry.
Right, and I mean, it's a lot better than what I had. You know, I mean, I just, more adventures on spinning wheel. Spinning more records. I ended up, starting a new blues show, which I'm doing as of this recording. It'll be on Tuesday. So I'm doing a blues show now, and then let's see, then Friday going to do the Motown Train on spinning wheel. Then Saturday doing Chicago Soul on spinning wheel, and then I got the residency at Save More Liquors, so I'm going to be there 2 times a month now, which is nice.
I hope you're not getting paid in liquor, are you?
No, well, I mean, and the funny thing about it was,
a bottle of Ripple is your fee.
Yeah, it was well, she might have been. No, but the thing about it was that I was there, and that big tornado that touched down and everything.
Yeah,
well,
DuPage
first off,
County, I got hit hard. Yeah.
Did you?
I was playing to an audience of 7. I mean, because it was the first Sunday that they opened up to do this over at Save More. So, so it's just, let's build the road and people come to it. So I was with 7 people that night, and really good people. Thanks to all you guys and girls who came to the Save More Liquors for the Sunday event. And we'll see what happens for the next one. But then what happened was after we got the storm warnings through our phones, I mean, everybody's cell phone was going off about the storm warning. And just as the things went off, it was like, Ivan, this was great, but we came on bikes. We got to go. Ivan, this is great. Well, we don't want to be here for the storm. So my audience kind of got up and left. And then, Ellie, who, brought me in the first place to work at Save More, she goes, hey, hon, no offense, but, now that, what's happening is here, I'll go ahead and I'll pay you this. And I'm going to close up early. I'm like, that's great. And then we just talked for a few minutes, and we decided what was going to happen for next month for July. And then after that, went home, couldn't find parking for almost 3 hours.
Jesus.
Okay, we had left the place at 11. We got to my apartment here by about 11:30, going through the torrential rains and everything. It was bad, and then it was like everybody else had the same idea, so there was no parking to be had. Had to sleep in our car, and then finally, when somebody actually jumped out of a space, then we just roared over there and finally got into the house around 2:30. It was out by 3 in the morning.
Jesus.
It was just like, had we been doing the regular whole night, this would probably be the time we'd be home anyway. So it was crazy. So yeah, so that's all that happened in my universe over the last few days, in a nutshell. So yeah. So there you go. And I'll be on Facebook for all of my presentations this week, folks. Okay, Tuesday I'll be doing the Tuesday Night Blues on spinning wheel. You can catch the times there, 1 to 3 in the afternoon. The Motown Train I will be on from. I'll be on from 4 to 6.
Okay.
On Friday, and then let's see. Then Saturday I'm doing one from 12 to 2 for the Chicago Soul. Also on Spinning Wheel. Also on Facebook Live. Yeah, I just keep doing more of the Facebook Lives because, well,
you getting off of Twitch then?
Well, no, I'm staying on Twitch for some of the longer fare, and I'm using that for more specialized programming now. Instead of trying to do
if I were you, because I was going to, this seems like a good time to mention it. Ivan, when you get a chance, you want to check out the green room thing.
Yes, I saw that.
You want to check out the green room thing I think it's exactly what you're looking for. And the interesting part is that you'd be able to record your show and download it.
Oh, nice. Okay, good. Good to know. I'll look at
I'll tell you right now. Right now, I think until things start to calm down and certain people figure things out. Right now, it's a giant clusterfuck mess.
Oh, of course. Well, yeah.
Well, no, it's all the Clubhouse people who came over.
Spotify, is launches Green Room.
Right. So a whole bunch of Clubhouse people moved over there, and they're trying to turn it into their version of Clubhouse. And I'm just
I see.
So the other thing that's amusing is, I guess Spotify put in something that they're calling gems, or at least because what Spotify did is they bought what's called Locker Room, which used to be really just a sports talk app for audio.
That's what it sounds like.
And they had these things called gems that you could hand out to people, and for some strange reason, the Clubhouse people all seem to think that it's a way to show like clout and whatnot. So now all of a sudden there's all these rooms where basically like people go on stage and everybody's handing everybody gems as fast as possible, because the more gems you have, the more clout you should have. Ha ha ha. It's like and by the way, nothing in anything that I've read from Spotify says that the gems have any real value of any sort of.
No, they don't get you into any special rooms. They don't give you any special status, really. It's just they're just like they're shinies to put in front of your profile.
Right, and my favorite is that the people who are trying to assign meeting, ironically, are a bunch of Clubhouse people who seem to want to try to, or seem to be trying to be like, we're going to assert our will here on this platform, and I'm like just sitting here going. It's funny. The people who are doing it, I'm kind of watching, and I'm literally sitting there going, "You're all the people I don't like."
Well, then there you go.
I'm like, if you're all leaving Clubhouse, God, Clubhouse might actually be like a normal fucking place now, with all of you gone. But I don't know. I laugh because, like I said, we'll talk about it like offline a little bit, but. It might be something, we talked about doing this show, and it's no secret that we talked about it. We talked about doing this show in Clubhouse, but, if Spotify has it in such a way where they're going to make it that easy for us to download and podcast it. Plus, apparently at some point they're going to do what they have a creator program that anybody and everybody can get into. And so it's based on how many people walk into a room and listen. Well, okay, that would be a great way for us to make some money on the pod and
get some numbers.
Yeah, get some numbers too. So, there are some downsides to it. Like they have unlike Clubhouse, they have a chat, and I don't know if there's a way to disable the chat or get the people out of there who are going to just sit there and troll or say dumb shit or stuff like
someone
that.
who can regulate the chat.
I don't know if that's doable or not. I haven't figured that out, but. I don't know. Like I said, it's something to think about. I figured I'd mention it to you, Ivan, because if you're looking for places to DJ, if you're looking for places to DJ, this might be something for you.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll look into it, and then I'll get back to you on the next show and I'll give you my feeling on it, okay?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, good. All right. So,
FYI, Ivan, it's a separate app.
Okay.
Separate app, just so you know, because you can't get into it straight from Spotify. You have to go to Green Room.
No, I'll go. Yeah, Green Room. I'll go ahead and I'll track it down. Okay. So, and are you sure you don't want to drop in your trip into the show, Mike?
No, we'll make it for next week. We're almost 3 hours in now, so we're running a little long.
Okay.
We're not running long. Normally, we'd be talking about freaking Florida Man and all this other garbage.
Well, yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
Basically,
do we need to end on a chic? Do we need to end on a chic quote? Is that what we really need?
We could, find a chic tweet. And
fuck the Monday.
Yeah. Fuck Monday was fuck Monday.
Monday. It was my first Monday back from vacation. It sure was. Fuck the Monday. But anything else? Oh, then we got the only thing I have just left is the Picard season 2 trailer. We're getting John Delancey.
Oh, did that come out?
Yeah, we're getting John Delancey back as Q. Pretty much almost for the whole season, I believe. And so that'll be interesting. Hopefully, make season 2 of Picard better? Question mark. We'll see.
Let's see. There's a few amusing ones from Sheik here.
All right.
Let's see. I urge you to never be a dumb fucking jabroni. In less than 24 hours, go fuck yourself. Drumroll, please, go fuck yourself. As the world turns, go fuck yourself. Fuck the Tic Tacs. Fuck the Monday. Wait, this one's good because it's really an NBA thing, but it is kind of funny. Fuck the Philadelphia. I never eat the cream cheese again.
Hey, I like the Philadelphia cream cheese on my bagel.
That's pretty good. Too. There is one. Wait, Bay Shark, you can go fuck yourself, you no good piece of shit. Are you talking about Baby Shark? Maybe not. I don't think so. Let's see. Here, happy Father's Day to an intelligent bed baller. He crushed the earth, not like that jabroni Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan is not a jabroni. Yes, he is. You told us that. Here's the one we should end on. Happy Father's Day, except to that Hollywood blonde jabroni Hulk Hogan.
No. And with that, folks, Mike, would you tell everyone where they could find us?
Why, certainly, Ivan. I hope you had a good Father's Day, too.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you very much. I had a great Father's Day. And, of course, as you saw, I did my little gospel show on the Sunday spinning wheel, which that was cool. I enjoyed that.
Good. We're on Instagram and Twitter at SOTRT Podcast. From YouTube, you can click the bell and subscribe. You know when to get new content. You can download the show on your usual podcast hosting platforms, iTunes, Google, Spotify. Anchor.fm/SOTRT is the easiest way to access if you don't want to use the app or whatever, or Breaker and Overcast, some of the other smaller apps. And, of course, follow us on Facebook for geek stories, wacky stories, news stories, and just anything we ever, memes and shit we like to post on there. And that's right. And Ivan is on Twitch.tv at Java and Ivan. Jeff is everywhere on Steinamite Productions. Email us at sotrtpodcast@gmail.com.
And thanks, everybody, for joining us over here at the Squares of the Round Table. It's always a joy to be hanging with you. And, of course, in the Major Geekdom, that is our program. And we hope that you'll join us next week. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Y'all have a great week, and we will definitely catch up with you sooner than later. Say good night, boys.
Good night, boys.